I could wait to see her. But the truth, I got some kind of amnesia. You worked up on me, said you thought of me, finally. And finally, since we let go, you're ready to say hello. What did you hope to see coming to this place? Said you'd never call up, now you're all up. My face, my face, my face, my face. You like a time traveler? You like to go backwards. You like a time traveler? Running from the future. Time traveler. Time traveler. This area you made restricted off limits. Thought I would miss it before I ditched it, dismissed it. Yeah, I was timely, but I fall out for you, honey. And after 3 years of living, you're asking to go back in. What did you hope to see coming back to me? Are you satisfied now? Could you die now? Happily, 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 happily.
Good morning, my friends. It's good to see you guys. I hope everybody's doing well. Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be just us McLeans, guys. Looks like, which is good. Because the truth is, man, there's really not anything that's expected to happen today. I mean, they're gonna bring down, they're gonna choose more jurors. They're gonna narrow it down to more jurors, and then tomorrow they're gonna narrow it down to more jurors, and then so on and so forth. Whoopity doo. But oh look. So there's a new list for Turtle Boy Ratchet Madness. The only reason I got is because he tagged me in it. I was like, wait, why did I get tagged in this? Okay, now I see. Let's might as well go down the list of Ratchet Madness. So Sullivan Sluts is number 1 on the list. Julie Carpenter, good time, Julie Carp. Sam Nagel, oh man. Tara Kerrigan, Robert Cosgrove, Prosecutors Pod, who I'm not sure who that is. That's that. Oh yeah, Prosecutors Podcast. That guy's a fucking idiot. Matt Valentinus, Phelps, Chris Albert Jr., that true crime lady that I do an impression of. That's why he tagged me. Carrie Lama, Good, Seraph, Marty Kraft, Tristan Morris, Caitlin Albert, Courtney Proctor, Jessica Hyde, Ian Whiffen, Note My Objection, Katie McLaughlin, Anthony Flamati, Ryan Piotrowski, Megabeth, Brendan Kane, John Jackson, Christina Michetti, Christina Michetti.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad.
How dare you?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Callie, Sandy RN, Free Karen Reed, let's fucking go. I completely agree. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Dude. Yeah. So we're gonna now Britt Happens sent me an article. We'll probably go over that a little later. What's up? It's good to see you, by the way. We're gonna go over probably that a little later. We're just gonna find shit to go over because we're just gonna hang out for a while. I know a lot of people are like hanging at the edge of their seats. I'm not gonna go to the gym till later, so I figured fuck it, I'll just hang out with you guys. We definitely do want to go over Mark Randazza. Mark Randazza has officially entered the chat, y'all. Not my chat, but metaphorically speaking. Mark Randazza has been retained again by the boots on the ground folks, the wonderful folks out there who are there relentlessly, always to support Karen Reed. They hired Mark Randazza to fight that buffer zone. And I dare say that Mark Randazza is one of my favorite lawyers. No offense to those. Now, I said one of because I'm just, man, it's hard to pick a favorite considering all of the attorneys that I have come to know in a world of Betteros, Jacksons, Yanettis, in a world of those attorneys. Yeah, most definitely Randazza is one of my favorites. I had him on the show last year when this first trial was happening, and he was retained. And the dude is just like, he doesn't give any fucks at all. He's definitely the right guy to fight this. Well, the guy that we want in theory to fight it. Now, that might not be a good thing that he drops F-bomb after F-bomb. I personally love it, but I don't know if that's like the best thing. But you know, seems to me like he does a pretty damn good job of just sticking to the law and what matters and what doesn't, and you know, eliminating what doesn't matter. So I love that. Now, let me go ahead and look for it real quick and read this wonderfully drafted thingamabob here that was posted day before yesterday. Yeah, Brit happens. I have to agree with you. This just popped up on my feed. But yeah, you got to put the you got to put the look at this photograph lady, the Nickelback lady, Tara Kerrigan. She's got to go on the Ratchet Madness list. Or she's just too insignificant. She'd probably love that shit. Look at this photograph. All right, hold on. Let me find this. Yeah, and big shout out to everybody watching me on X right now. Make sure to like this and repost it, man. That would really be helpful. Now there's this dude here, like, I guess this is a band member of, I just posted this because people keep talking about this. So who is this guy? And I guess he's a band member that was playing at the waterfall that night. And seems to me like he's a key witness considering that he was outside. This is a shot of John O'Keefe walking out with a drink. I mean, you don't see him in the shot, but this guy is outside during that time, right after Brian Higgins was making a scene. And I feel like this dude is a pretty important witness. But I don't know. That's up to the defense. And let's catch up real quick on some updates from what's going on in court. So Turtle Boy posted that he's back in the courtroom for day 3 of jury selection. There are about 40 potential jurors in the room, and 35 more will be called who were left over from yesterday. They are choosing jurors a lot faster than anticipated, as they have filled 7 of 16 spots, excuse me. Honestly, 16 doesn't seem like enough, though. Spanky is going to be looking for ways to get rid of seated jurors who make the wrong facial reactions. That he will be doing. Make no mistake about that. And wait, what?
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
I think we got a super dad. Super dad. I think we got a super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Super dad. Dad, 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 dad. I think we got a super dad.
How dare you?
Decline. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your morning with us. Thank you for sharing your morning with me. Appreciate it. I really do. And then Turtle Boy posted 5 minutes ago saying when asked if they read or talked about the case, 37 of 40 jurors said yes. Wow. When asked if they had an opinion about the case, 21 of 40 said yes. When asked if they had a bias, 4 of 40 said yes. This is the highest percentage so far, which would be, I mean, it makes sense that it would be considering that the numbers are narrowed down. So Yeah, he's a total fucking clown. That's why Upchurch is no longer on there. I retired Upchurch. I reserve the right to bring him back, though. Just so you know. But and oh man, yeah, we got to go over the Sue O'Connell stuff too. Oh my god. Oh, god, she is fucking exhausting. And yes, very sad about Val Kilmer. Man, for that to happen like on April Fools, but it happened like I remember reading the post, like the first news about it, and it was like 12:30, technically April 2nd, and it was like 17 minutes old. So I was like, this is not an April Fool's joke. And then I reposted it. And yeah, crazy. It's not a funny April Fool's joke. Because it's Val Kilmer. I mean, who doesn't love Val Kilmer? Like Doc Holliday wasn't even like the best Tombstone movie, but like one of the best for sure. And but one could argue that his Doc Holliday character is one of the most iconic of all time. Okay, so he posted this. Hold on. Here we go. All right, so some of the folks that are outside of the courthouse now, outside of the buffer zone, of course, are suing, have retained the services of Mark Randazza and are suing Judge Beverly Cannoni. And the plaintiffs are Jason Grant and his wife Allison, Lisa Peterson, and Samantha Lyons. Says here, Karen Reed. The Karen Reed trial has drawn significant public attention. Plaintiffs are members of the public and members of the, plaintiffs are members of the public, wish to publicly express themselves near, but not on the grounds of the courthouse where the second Karen Reed trial is taking place. Their primary concern is that they wish to criticize Judge Cannoni. They have been doing so since November 2024 without incident. They have been doing so peacefully. They have been doing so while Judge Cannoni presides over cases in the Dedham courthouse, and neither the Sixth Amendment nor the First Amendment have felt the slightest chafe. However, Judge Cannoni has found her pretext to shut down protests against her an ignoble request from the Commonwealth that an ill-defined buffer zone be declared on the streets, public walkways, public library, and private property surrounding the Dedham courthouse. Judge Cannoni joyfully entered the order ex parte, enjoining plaintiffs and everyone else who are not subject to her jurisdiction from speaking on private property and traditional public fora. It is a lawless, ultra-virus act that violates the constitutional guarantees of free speech and due process. Cannoni has issued this order primarily to quash criticism directed at her. As this, the only protests that have been documented have been the plaintiffs in this case, who have quietly held signs criticizing Cannoni. To remedy this constitutional wrong, the plaintiffs Jason Grant, Allison Taggart, Lisa Peterson, and Samantha Lyons bring this civil action against defendant's trial court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Beverly J. Canoni, in her official capacity as Justice of the Superior Court, Jeffrey Noble as Superintendent of the Massachusetts State Police, Michael D'Entremont, and his official capacity as Chief of the Police Department of the town of Dedham, Massachusetts, and Michael W. Morrissey in his official capacity as the Norfolk County District Attorney. Plaintiffs bring a claim under 42 USC, blah, 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 defendant's violation of their First and 14th Amendment rights, and allege as follows. The parties, which are all the parties I just named, and the defendants are defendant trial court of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is a judicial entity organized under Massachusetts general laws, blah, 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 blah. Defendant Beverly J. Canoni is a justice of Norfolk County Superior Court and at all relevant times worked in Dedham, Massachusetts. And then there is defendant Michael Morrissey in the Norfolk County, Massachusetts District Attorney and at all relevant times worked in Norfolk County, Massachusetts, Defendant Michael D'Entremont is the Chief of the Police Department of the town of Dedham, Massachusetts, and at all relevant times worked in Dedham, Massachusetts. Defendant Jeffrey Noble is the Superintendent of the Massachusetts State Police, and at all relevant times worked in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Now, this is interesting because you have the Superintendent of the Massachusetts State Police and the Chief of the Dedham Police Department. And those two people probably don't have any fucking skin in the game, in the sense that they have to enforce it. And that means that they're liable. That means that they're responsible because they know the First and Fourth Amendments. They're sworn to know these things. So they are accountable. But the thing is, the interesting thing about that is they probably don't give a fuck about people gathering outside. They're probably pro the supporters of Karen Reed exercising their First Amendment rights. Most cops are. Most cops are. So that the irony here is that the only two people that are named as defendants here who probably want to fight this lawsuit is Beverly Canoni and Michael Morrissey. And then there's the jurisdictions and venue. This court has subject matter jurisdiction over the civil court, blah, 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 as the civil action arising under blah, 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 and the First and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. The court has personal jurisdiction over all defendants as they are all citizens or organs of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Exactly. And the defendants committed the acts complained of within the said Commonwealth. So they committed these acts. They violated those people's First and Fourth Amendment rights. This is, in a nutshell, what this is. The people named as defendants, the four people, the Superintendent of the Massachusetts State Police, the Chief of the Dedham Police Department, Michael Morrissey, and Beverly Canoni. Those people are being sued by Jason, Allison, and the other two for violating their Fourth Amendment and First Amendment rights. So this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. This is the epitome of what you can do, short of becoming lawless and starting a riot, which I would urge you to not do. But this is what Jason and Allison and the other two defendants are doing, or plaintiffs are doing here, excuse me. What they're doing is, to the extent of the law, within their ability, holding those four people responsible, those entities that those four people represent, holding them responsible. And this is very, very, very important, because even just for, yeah, and Dina, I get it. I know, and I know you're kind of being facetious more or less. But this is why it's really important for everyone to toe the line and obey the law just for now, just for the sake of, because think about it. What's happening out there is those 4 people are out there hiring Mark Randazza to fight for not just them. Those are the people who retained them. They're fighting for you. Mark Randazza is fighting for all of you to be able to express yourselves freely. Of course you can glaze my donut, Peter. Always. They're fighting for everyone out there's right to express themselves freely. And yeah, over 500 signed. And you got to think, people. Oh, and Carl Lively gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carl Lively. Before I continue my rant, let me just get through this. And I don't want to read the whole facts, but we know the background. Now, I will fast forward to I will fast forward here to when he mentions how this was done last year. So Massachusetts citizen Tracy Ann Spicuzza, Lorena Jenkinson, Dana Stewart, Leonard, and Paul Cristoforo thereupon moved to intervene for the limited purpose of opposing the Commonwealth's buffer zone motion, the one that she implemented last year. The motion to intervene was denied by Justice Canoni, who declared that the citizens had no right to intervene, even though the order would directly affect them. Judge Canoni then issued an order granting the Commonwealth's motion, asserting that the Commonwealth's perceived inconveniences overcame everyone else's First Amendment rights without regard for any differentiation between members of the public, and expressly ordered that no individual may demonstrate in any manner, including carrying signs or placards within 200 feet of the courthouse complex during trial of this case, unless otherwise ordered by this court. The complex includes the Norfolk Superior Courthouse building and the parking area behind the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds building. Individuals are also prohibited from using audio-enhancing devices while protesting, such as megaphones, microphones, so forth. PA systems. Speech that does not qualify as a demonstration was not restricted. Thus, a nearby cafe would advertise breakfast using a bullhorn and parade its menu on picket signs and placards. Celtics and Bruins fans could similarly honor their teams by hooting, hollering, and carrying placards. And in fact, commercial speech was permitted within the zone. In advance of the second trial, the Commonwealth again moved for a buffer zone, but with a larger area, again encompassing private property and traditional public fora, including public sidewalks and other areas. The Commonwealth also sought specific instructions to request police to use force to quash any dissent or protest. Without any opportunity for affected persons to intervene or to be heard, Judge Canoni issued an order on March 25th, 2025, granting the Commonwealth's motion, asserting that the basis for the first motion warranted a larger buffer zone for the second trial, and expressly ordered that no individual may demonstrate in any manner, including carrying signs or placards within 200 feet of the courthouse complex during trial of this case, unless otherwise ordered by this court. Cheryl with an S, thank you so much. 6 shirt, I have a Danzig tattoo on my arm. Right on. Yeah, I'm really proud of this shirt because I got it at Riot Fest of 2016, as you can see. And it was the first time in 30 years that Glenn Danzig played with the original members of the Misfits, except the drummer, of course. But it was really cool because Dave Lombardo filled in on drums. So that was really fun. But yeah, I'm really proud that I got to see Misfits with Glenn Danzig before I die. I was really excited about it. So this goes on to say, this complex includes the Norfolk Superior Courthouse building and the parking area behind the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds building. The buffer zone shall further be extended to include the area bounded by Bates Court, Bullard Street, Ames Street, and Court Street. Individuals are also prohibited from using audio enhancing devices while protesting. For the past several months, plaintiffs have been engaged in peaceful demonstrations with no adverse incidents. Such demonstrations took place in the location that is within the buffer zone of the second prior restraint order. For example, plaintiff Jason Grant peacefully demonstrated on the sidewalk next to the courthouse holding signs reading Judge Bev is conflicted and Bev's court is a clown show regarding and with images of D.A. Morrissey and Judge Beverly Cannoni. There's Jason Grant. We love Jason Grant. Really nice guy, man. He was extremely hospitable to me when I was up there. Really, really kind. I had a really nice time with him and Allison and Esty. We all went out after having dinner. It was really nice. It was a good time. And yeah, Jason Grant is just really, really, really kind. Really kind guy. And Allison is the really nice redhead who takes pictures. There's Jason, there's Brian Hale, and then there's Allison. They take amazing pictures of everyone out there, memorializing how rabid everyone is, along with Tom, who's memorializing how rabid we all are. Such demonstrations were specifically about Judge Cannoni and occurred during trials presided over by Judge Cannoni. There were no disturbances, incidents, nor interference, and Decline, welcome to Logic, thank you, with any of the trials taking place, but Judge Cannoni was apparently embarrassed and annoyed by people protesting against her. Nevertheless, nobody's rights were impeded upon, and not one complaint was received that the plaintiffs were aware of. Plaintiffs wish to continue to demonstrate, including criticize Judge Cannoni, off the grounds of the said courthouse complex, but within the buffer zone during the second trial. Plaintiffs reasonably fear that Judge Cannoni will attempt to hold them in contempt if they engage in such demonstration or will otherwise attempt other unconstitutional act to suppress those who would criticize her publicly. Plaintiffs reasonably fear that the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, under the control and direction of Defendant Morrissey, I love that, Defendant Morrissey. Man, let's enjoy that for a second. Let's enjoy the sound of that. Do that. Hold on, here we go. Yeah. Defendant Morrissey. That sounds so nice. Defendant Morrissey. Sounds like hot butter dripping off a hot biscuit. Defendant Morrissey. Under the control and direction of Defendant Morrissey, will seek their prosecution for violation of order if they engage in such demonstration. As Dedham police officers took action to enforce the buffer zone during the first trial, plaintiffs reasonably fear that the Dedham Police Department, under the control and direction of the defendant Dienterment, will arrest them for violation of the second prior restraint order if they engage in such demonstration. As Massachusetts state police officers, took action to enforce the buffer zone order during the first trial. Plaintiffs reasonably fear that the Massachusetts State Police, under the control and direction of Defendant Noble, will arrest them for violation of the second prior restraint order if they engage in such demonstration. Cause of action. Plaintiffs hereby repeat and reallege each and reallege Jesus, dude. Reallege each and every allegation in the preceding paragraphs as if set forth. God damn, my brain won't work today. Plaintiffs hereby repeat and reallege each and every allegation in the preceding paragraphs as if set forth fully herein. The second prior restraint order is facially unconstitutional. It is a content-based regulation of protected speech in a public forum that cannot withstand strict scrutiny. While the Supreme Court has upheld a statute relating to picketing or parading near courthouses, it has not approved of a 200-foot buffer with an additional larger ill-defined area. It is over-inconclusive. It includes speech in private businesses and homes and in traditional public fora. It is under-inclusive, Jesus Christ, as it does not regulate other forms of speech directed at potential jurors. The ostensible fair trial reason given. Now, if anybody tries to say that because Mark Randazza uses so many F-bombs that his vocabulary is limited, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Okay. Now that could apply to me, in all fairness. That could absolutely fucking apply to me, but clearly it does not apply to Mr. Mark Randazza, Esquire. So what's up, Microdots? Good to see you, buddy. But this is great because the argument here is a very, very, very good one if you can see it. This isn't just about the defendant's rights to free speech, or the defendants, the plaintiffs, in this case, the plaintiff's rights to free speech. This isn't just about that. He's also making a point that Beverly Cannoni's buffer zone that she instilled here during this trial also includes private businesses, private homes, residents. So how can you regulate someone like the diner having a picture of a megaphone on one of its signs, or anybody speaking privately on the stoop of their own private business, speaking about how they believe Karen Reed is either guilty or innocent, or wearing a blue or pink shirt? So how can they do that? How can Judge Beverly Cannoni lawfully do this? And that's a great, great argument by Mark Randazza here. He's saying, you're just going to instill this insane buffer zone without even considering that you're impeding on the First and Fourth Amendment rights of the people who don't have anything fucking to do with this case. They're just at work doing their own shit. They're not allowed to talk about the case. They're not allowed to wear a pink fucking shirt if they want. Who the fuck is you, Judge Bev? That's what Mark Randazza is saying here. That's what the four plaintiffs that have hired Mark Randazza say here. Who the fuck is you, Judge Bev, to tell people at their own fucking job or a business that they own that they can't wear pink? They can't scream at the top of their lungs Karen Reed is innocent or Karen Reed is guilty, whatever the fuck they want. The second prior restraint order purports to address noise and to minimize prospective jurors' exposure to viewpoints about the Reed case. but it is targeted solely to speech in the ambit of the Reed case when Judge Cannoni in the Superior Court routinely conduct jury trials without such restrictions. Judge Cannoni could have taken measures to reduce jurors' exposure to noise and public speech without imposing content-based restrictions. The second prior restraint order is unconstitutionally vague. Plaintiffs cannot ascertain where they may not demonstrate, as the purported bounds are not bounds at all. Plaintiffs cannot ascertain exactly what speech is prohibited. It is unclear if they can wave political signs that say vote against D.A. Morrissey or Judge Cannoni is corrupt. I fucking love this guy. The second prior restraint order is an unconstitutional prior restraint on speech. The second prior restraint order is an unconstitutional as applied. The defendants have been purposely targeting people like plaintiffs who dislike Judge Cannoni, and there is nothing that suggests that they would threaten anyone siding with the prosecution or supporting Judge Cannoni. Plaintiffs have been injured or reasonably fear imminent injury by these constitutional violations, and plaintiffs are entitled to relief. Therefore, plaintiffs are entitled to a declaration that the second prior restraint order is unconstitutional, and they are entitled to an injunction against all defendants prohibiting enforcement of the second prior restraint order. So what they're asking for here, what Mark Randazza is asking for here, is an order that prohibits, an injunction that prohibits the Massachusetts State Police or the Dedham Police Department to enforce Judge Beverly Cannoni's very unconstitutional order. So if they decide, like, if someone crosses the buffer zone going free Karen Reed and that person gets arrested, then what Mark Randazza is asking for is an injunction that says that they can't do that. That Judge Beverly Cannoni's order is just plain wrong. So hopefully, now hold on. All right, so we're on number 45 here. Let me see real quick. Yeah, so who did he file this under? Like, what court did he file this under? Did he file this? Did he file this? He didn't file this with the SJC, did he? How does this work? Because I'm lost on that. I'm lost on who he filed this on. Like, what court did he file this with? Is it federal court? Okay, so, all right. See, that gives me hope. That gives me some hope. Yeah, so that gives, I was going to say, yeah. All right. That's what I thought. I just wasn't sure. Plaintiffs hereby repeat and reallege each and every allegation in the preceding paragraphs as if set forth fully herein. Defendant's conduct of issuing and enforcing the second prior restraint order is unconstitutional and violates plaintiffs' rights to due process of law under the 14th Amendment. Prior to being deprived of their rights to speak freely and to assemble, plaintiffs were entitled to due process. There was no hearing, no opportunity to be heard, nor was there any due process whatsoever. There was merely an arbitrary and capricious action designed to harm plaintiffs and others issued by one person on account of anticipated First Amendment protected activity. Judge Cannoni's second prior restraint order was issued in the absence of statutory authority or inherent authority over persons not brought within her jurisdiction through process. Judge Cannoni's second prior restraint order was a usurpation of legislative and regulatory functions, not a judicial act. Judge Gatani has no authority over what non-parties to a proceeding may do off of courthouse property, let alone on private property or traditional public fora. I mean, that's the truth. Like, that's the thing is, she's the judge, right? This is what we have to like really pay attention to. She's the judge, but her authority really only goes as far as the courthouse when it comes to something like this. When it comes to people assembling, she can only go as far as the courthouse steps once, and maybe the sidewalk. That's a stretch. That's even a stretch. So the fact that she's going way beyond that onto other people's property, and she has no right to do that. She has no legal authority over those properties. So there's really no reason whatsoever, in theory, why this should not be granted. I'm actually very hopeful for this. A, it's going over Beverly Gatani's head. B, it cites quite clearly and plainly that her authority only goes as far as the courthouse property. That's it. Public sidewalks surrounding it, fair game. Courthouse across, or the Registry of Deeds across the street, fair game. So what Mark Randazza is pointing out here is that this is incredibly unconstitutional. This is an absolute abuse of Judge Beverly Gatani's power. And this is an abuse of her power that we should be just as angry about as whatever happens inside that courtroom in regards to Karen Reed's case. This is something that we should all just be so pissed off about. Because that like, she's basically saying, yeah, I don't even want to look at you people. I want you so far away from me that I can't even see you. I'm sorry. That's not for you to say. It's not for you to say. You are a public figure and you are subject to criticism, public criticism. You're subject to opinions being made of you and expressed publicly, such as you being corrupt. That is an opinion that anyone is free to express publicly. What's up, Scott Messerschmidt? It's good to see you, buddy. The Massachusetts Constitution does not empower Superior Court justices with explicit or inherent authority to regulate private property or traditional public fora in the way they might regulate courthouse property. There it is right there. No Massachusetts. Oh, what's up, Nan? Good to see you. No Massachusetts statute empowers Superior Court justices with explicit or inherent authority to regulate private property or traditional public fora in the way they might regulate courthouse property. No ordinance of the town of Dedham empowers Superior Court justices with explicit or inherent authority to regulate private property or traditional public fora in the way they might regulate courthouse property. So yeah, so even though that stuff falls under their jurisdiction, it does not give them authority to make decisions about that area. So like, if the Massachusetts State Police are that's their jurisdiction to enforce the law. Okay, what it does not do is grant Judge Beverly Gatani authority to instill a buffer zone that violates people's constitutional rights. That is something that the the authority of the Massachusetts State Police nor the Dedham Police have. They do not have the authority to empower Judge Beverly Cannoni to rob people of their constitutional rights. So one way or the other, Randazza is covering both sides of the coin. He's covering every side of the octagon, or the whatever the fuck you call it. He's covering every side of it. Every single side of the Dungeons and Dragons die. Plaintiffs have been injured or reasonably fear imminent injury by these constitutional violations, and plaintiffs are entitled to relief. Therefore, plaintiffs are entitled to a declaration that the second prior restraint order is unconstitutional, and they are entitled to an injunction on the second prior restraint order's enforcement. Sarah Cooper, welcome to the hoity-goity. Demand for trial by jury. Plaintiffs hereby demand a trial by jury on each claim asserted or hereafter asserted in the complaint, and on each defense asserted or hereafter asserted by the defendant. So that is fucking beautiful right there. So now Randazza and crew are asking for a jury trial for this. If they're going to fight this, they want this in front of a jury. They want the people to see it, because make no mistake, this is the people versus the government. This is a legal battle between the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus civil servants that represent the Massachusetts Commonwealth government. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff asks the court a declaration that the second prior restraint order is unconstitutional under the First and Fourth Amendments of the United States Constitution, a declaration that enforcing the second prior restraint order is unconstitutional under the First and Fourth Amendments of the United States Constitution, a preliminary and permanent injunction enjoining each defendant from interfering with plaintiff's right to lawfully engage in constitutionally protected expression and activity within Dedham, Massachusetts, to award plaintiffs their reasonable attorney's fees, costs, and expenses pursuant and any other applicable law, and to award such other relief as this honorable court may deem just and proper. So, on top of everything, the whipped cream on that sundae, folks, is that Randazza is saying that Cannoni, Morrissey, Massachusetts State Police, and the Dedham Police Department basically need to pay for Mark Randazza's legal fees. Now, this is just what he's requesting. This is what he's asking for in the order, but it doesn't mean that it's going to get granted. It doesn't mean it's going to, even if it does get granted, it doesn't even mean it's going to get paid. Like, I've been awarded my attorney's fees and have never seen one red cent. And I was told don't even expect it. You know, it almost never happens. Especially with the deadbeats that you're dealing with. But yeah, so we have that going on, which is just fantastic. I love that the people are fighting back and didn't waste any time. I mean, it is day 3. Tomorrow they have court. So I will be covering that. But I know that there won't be cameras. It's federal court. When it comes to federal court, these things are never televised or streamed. But I will be following. Hopefully, What I'm hoping someone like Jess Machado or Ted Daniel or someone like that will attend the hearing and tweet and keep us all informed. But this is in the middle of jury selection, so that might be difficult. I mean, you've got this high profile case where Reddington's representing this surgeon who allegedly murdered his wife, and Turtle Boy was the only press in the courtroom while Lieutenant Fanning was on the stand. And he was only in there because he was bored. So, you know, everybody's pretty fixated on the Karen Reed stuff right now. Now, did this thing start yet? It doesn't matter. I'll start it over and then we'll just play it. Yeah, okay. So that's happening. We'll get back to that. We got a lot to go over, folks. We're like, understand what we're doing today is we're just kind of killing time. We're hanging out while we hear what's going on with now I'm not going to be here all day either, but while we're just waiting to see where we're at with jury selection. So we're just kind of finding stuff to fill time with, you know. Now, let's go over the Sue O'Connell shit. This is going to take a hard left turn here, folks. Okay? Because this stuff was just killing me, dude. Like, I was just blown away by like the depths that liberals will go for their agenda. It's just annoying, and hardcore conservatives will do it too. It's just really crazy to me that, you know, your political side that you lean will allow you, like, you'll be so invested in it that you'll forget like what the whole point of having political leans are. It's just like it's your standard for living in a society, you know. And so it's like you'll piss away like some of your own convictions, you know, or show that you never had any, just for the sake of your political views. It's just really weird. And I'm not talking politics. I'm just making a point. I'm making an observation about politics in general. So now this is just fucking ridiculous, dude. Where is that shit? Sorry, I'm just having trouble finding it. And then we're going to go over Judge Beverly's like, we're going to go over a couple of Olivia posts soon. Yeah, dude, like, so me and Sue O'Connell went at it again yesterday. Early too. She really pisses me off. So I reposted her post here. You got to see this. So I reposted her post, and maybe what I should do here is let me do this. Okay, let me do this real quick. because we're gonna let's go over the let's go over the article here. So I've got the Augusta Press here, and the article here is and these are new details. So this came out today. So I'm being updated on this. So the Augusta Press viral story on the arrest of Chris Lewis for leaving 3 kids at a local McDonald's to go job hunting has sparked debate and sympathy across the country. On Wednesday, in response to an outcry of requests from local and national media, Richmond County authorities released a full report Wednesday with more details into their investigation, saying that the father was not really looking for a job while the children were at McDonald's, but he had been job hunting earlier that day. Lewis, a 24-year-old father from Augusta, Georgia, was arrested on March 2nd after leaving his 3 children. And I was still giving the guy the benefit of the doubt that he might have been looking for a job. Ages 10, 6, and 1. Okay. Lewis, 24-year-old father from Augusta, Georgia, was arrested on March 22nd after leaving his 3 children, ages 10, 6, and 1, at a McDonald's with a playground, telling deputies that he was attending a job interview nearby. Lewis, who did not have a car, walked his children to the McDonald's and felt it was a safer place to leave them for the short time he would be at the interview. After he returned to pick them up, a customer at the McDonald's called the police, and Lewis was arrested and charged with deprivation of a minor. Captain Danny Whitehead conducted a follow-up investigation and noted inconsistencies regarding the whereabouts of Lewis during the period when the children were left unattended at the restaurant. Okay? So this is what we're talking about. So far, we're talking about a dude, 24, 3 kids, leaves the 3 kids to go fuck off and do whatever the fuck he was doing, because apparently he wasn't looking for a job. But when the cops arrested him, that was his excuse. Sounds like a strong excuse to give when you're being questioned for leaving your kids. Oh, I was off looking for a job, officer. I had a job interview, right? But, okay. So, the 10-year-old child told officers that her father, and 2 siblings had walked to the McDonald's from the Hendricks apartments. She said left to deliver a backpack to the Hendricks apartments and told her he would return shortly. The child also mentioned that her father frequently left them alone. Okay? 2 witnesses both reported arriving at the restaurant at approximately 4:30 p.m. Saturday and observing the children there without adult supervision. They recalled that the father was on the phone with someone and was overheard saying he needed to drop something off. The witnesses stated that after this, the father left McDonald's, leaving the children behind. They estimated the children were alone for approximately an hour and a half. Listen to me. In this day and age, depending on where you live, turning your back on a 10-year-old, for 60 seconds could be a lifetime. It could be a life-changing minute. On a fucking 10-year-old, much less a 6 and a 1-year-old. Is that what the other ages were? Dude, when my son was first born, I thought that, like, and this is fucked up. This is real fucked up. I'm gonna get like real fucking personal with you guys. But like, until maybe about 5 years ago, I didn't think that I was worth a shit. I didn't think that I was worth a shit. Now, I had my son when I was 25. Okay. So imagine how I felt about myself back then. And I had such low opinion of myself, such a low opinion of I didn't even think that I deserved to be on this planet. Then I have like the greatest thing happen to me in the world. And I still didn't even know how to fucking handle it at the time, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I saw my son as just being this blessing that was too good to be true. I felt so low about myself that I didn't think that there was logic behind being blessed with something so amazing as my kid, right? And I would I would check my kid like when he was sleeping. I would never sleep all the way through the night. I would wake up periodically and I would put my hand on his chest or his stomach to make sure that he was breathing, because I was so afraid of SIDS. That's how paranoid and fucked up my mind worked back then. What I used to think was that this isn't a blessing. This is something that's going to get taken away from me. I'm such a bad, shitty person that this was given to me to be taken away. And I feared this on a constant basis when it came to my kid being born. You know what I mean? And so I was constantly just like, I was so scared, like that, you know, I was so scared of SIDS. I kept hearing about SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. And I was so afraid of it, you know? So I was always like checking him, you know? And I couldn't leave my kid alone. Like there's no, I couldn't imagine. Like, now I made bad decisions as a parent over the years. You know, we're talking 25 years ago. And I've made bad decision as a parent over the years, but never when my kids were small would I ever leave them alone under any circumstances. I wouldn't even leave them with people that weren't family. Or at least practically family, people that I knew and grew up with over the years, you know, like, and that was a rare thing. So when you sit here and I get the argument, we're going to get into the Sue O'Connell thing in just a second, because she states an argument, but the problem is her argument doesn't fucking apply. But like, I relate to her argument, but her argument simply doesn't fucking apply. It just doesn't. Like, and it's crazy to me, dude, that like, and so, and our argument, when we get into that, I'll tell you, it's based on both of us giving the guy the benefit of the doubt that the dude was actually at a job interview and left his kid alone because he went to a job interview. Even still, I was like, no, you don't do that. You don't fucking do that. So then the 10-year-old contacted her mother on social media at approximately 6 p.m. The mother, Lisette Pichardo, arrived at McDonald's at approximately 6:12. 12 minutes later, mom shows up. Mom doesn't know what's going on, but mom shows up. 6:12. She advised that Mr. Lewis was supposed to deliver a backpack to her mother at the Hendricks apartment and had been told that he must take the children with him. She advised that Mr. Lewis was supposed to deliver a backpack to her mother at the Hendricks apartments and had been told that he must take the children with him. A sheriff's report says Pichardo immediately called Mr. Lewis, who answered and stated that he was on his way back to McDonald's from the Hendricks. Lewis arrived at McDonald's at approximately 6:18 p.m., still in possession of the backpack. What? He told Pichardo that he had been trying to find her to give her the backpack. She reminded him that he was not supposed to leave the children unattended. So she even told him, yo, don't leave the kids alone, bro. Like, bring me the fucking backpack, but don't leave the kids alone, dude. Lewis claimed that he and the children were at McDonald's earlier that day because he had filled out a job application at the West Bank Inn, located adjacent to the McDonald's, and was waiting for a call back for a possible interview. He said he left to deliver the backpack to the Hendricks, but during that time, he lost his ID and another card and had been retracing his steps to find. Jesus Christ, bro. Like, you know what I'm hearing right now is exactly the point that I make later in this argument with Sue O'Connell, which is maybe consider the idea that the reason why the guy doesn't have a job is because he's a fucking excuse-making douchebag. Like, did anybody consider that possibility? Everybody's like, oh, well, he's out looking for a job. Yeah, dude. Maybe the reason why he doesn't have a job is because nobody wants to hire him because he's a fucking irresponsible, entitled, excuse-making fucking douchebag. Nobody wants to consider that idea. Yeah, total bullshit. Like, these are excuses. Oh, man, I lost my ID and my card, and I had to go and retrace my steps and look for it, blah, blah, blah. Get the fuck out of here, dude, with that bullshit. Dude, you know what? Dude, you guys don't even fucking understand, like, how simple I am, dude. Simple as fuck. Like, and yes, in the in the funny way, yes, I'm simple in that way too, but I'm simple in the sense that, dude, I don't even own a wallet. I don't even own a wallet, dude. Like, I got sick and tired of the feeling of this big old fucking hunk of leather up against my ass whenever I sat down, or squeezing up against my balls if I put it in my front pocket when I sat down. I got sick and tired of it. Like, I was like, this is the most stupidest thing in the world. This is what I need right here. I need my ID and I need my fucking bank card, dude. That's what I got. And I keep those things in my fucking pocket. Sometimes I don't even carry them with me, depending on where I'm going. I almost always make sure to have my ID on me. But I have 4 cards on my phone. I carry my phone, my bank card, my ID. That's it. You know what I mean? And I never lose those fucking things, dude. Knock on wood. I never lose that shit. I'm always checking. I have a habit of doing this to make sure I have everything, and everything goes in the right pocket too. If my wallet, or sorry, if my card and my ID are not in my pocket where I keep them in the correct pocket, I'm in a panic. Because I used to be the kind of irresponsible person that lost everything. Now I can be a fucking slob and a mess, totally disorganized, but I still know where everything is. And I know that if something's not where it's supposed to be, something's wrong. Like, and I was like this, by the way, I was like this already at 24. So I don't want to hear the excuse, well, he's 24. No. I was like that at 24. I had gotten so sick. Like, when you lose something like your ID, dude, like the trouble you have to go through to get another one, it's too much. You know what I mean? Like, I'm too lazy for that. So it's way easier to constantly be paranoid and make sure that I have my shit on me. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not trying to say that at 24, I was a responsible person. I'm trying to say that at 24, like, there were minimum things that I was very, very responsible about. And that was never losing like my keys or my fucking wallet or anything else. Like, I always knew where that shit was. Always. When I took it out of my pockets, there was a spot in the house where the shit went. If it's not in that spot, not in my pockets, something's wrong. Like, so I don't want to hear this shit about this dude being 24. Like, he's just giving excuses. That's all he is. Like, I've had people like him work for me, dude. Like, I've had to manage people like this. And they never last. They never last. You know what I mean? Like, those are the people that last fucking. The only reason anybody like that ever lasts at a fucking pizza joint, the only reason anybody like that ever lasts at a pizza joint is because you're trying to keep turnover low. Turnover is bad for your business. It's bad for your it's bad for tax breaks. You get tax breaks if you get low turnover in your business. That's a fact. So when you're trying to watch turnover, you know, you're like, okay, well, that just means I have to manage them more. You know what I mean? But it sucks. But that's the kind of person that you constantly have to manage. If they're a driver for you, then you're like, okay, you got your car top sign. All right. You got your bank on you, which is like change to give the customer. You got that. You've got to stay on top of them. Make sure that they have everything so that they're not walking back and forth to get to their car to finally go make the fucking delivery. Oh shit, hold on, I gotta go grab this. Oh shit, fuck, man, forgot my keys. I left my keys on the car. Y'all see my keys? That kind of shit. Like, but you have to manage them because at the same time, they might be willing to work days that other people aren't willing to work. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to pick and choose. You got to pick your battles. But people like that who are constantly making excuses and just do irresponsible shit are people that you have to constantly manage until they basically are a liability. And then you got to fucking give them the boot. But this guy's barely even inclined to even get a job. So to verify this, Captain Whitehead visited the West Bank Inn and spoke with the manager. She confirmed that Lewis came in on March 22nd and completed a job application. She also conducted an informal interview with him on that date. When asked if Lewis would be expecting a call back for a formal interview, she stated no. The manager provided video surveillance footage showing Lewis arriving at 1:12 p.m. and leaving at 1:37 p.m. on March 22nd. Based on the video evidence and the timeline provided by all parties involved, it was determined that Lewis was not engaged in a job interview or application process during the time the children were left unattended. Okay? Furthermore, by his own admission, he was walking between McDonald's and the Hendricks apartments on foot during that period, a report says. The distance between these two locations is approximately 0.4 miles. It was determined that a misdemeanor charge of deprivation, so less than half a mile. It was determined that a misdemeanor charge of deprivation of a minor was appropriate to ensure the welfare of the children and facilitate a review of the matter by the court. The sheriff's office said the charge ensures that all parties have an opportunity to appear before a judge to determine the children are receiving appropriate care. Lewis's arrest has sparked widespread public outcry nationwide, with many arguing that he should not be criminally charged for trying to provide for his family. The case has garnered attention from people on both sides of the political spectrum, with former NFL player Antonio Brown setting up a GoFundMe campaign to help Lewis. The campaign has raised over $39,000 with contributions coming from people who sympathize with Lewis with Lewis's situation and believe the system unfairly punishes those in poverty. Many supporters have expressed frustration over the cost of living and the challenges faced by low-income families. The story went viral on social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, drawing attention to the broader issue of poverty and the difficulties of escaping escaping it in the U.S. So, which brings me to Sue O'Connell. So Sue O'Connell decides she wants to post this yesterday, right? And she says, when I was in first grade, this is how she headlines this repost. When I was in first grade in 1967 in Revere, Massachusetts, our class went to the local park and the teacher sent two of my classmates to the store alone to buy glass bottles of Coke for us to share. It was about a half a mile round trip, walking along busy North Shore Road. There was nothing remarkable about it. Well, that's because it was 1967 and it was in a place in Massachusetts that, unless you're from Massachusetts, you've never fucking heard of. So I'm guessing that there probably wasn't a whole lot of crime back in Revere, Massachusetts, back in 1967. Kind of apples and oranges. I don't think that there was a child trafficking, a multi-billion-dollar child trafficking sorry about that. 1 second, guys. Yeah, a multi-billion-dollar child trafficking industry back in Revere, Massachusetts in 1967. I seriously doubt that. So here she is, basically just, this is her way of justifying what this guy did, which is really infuriating. It set me off immediately. Because I'm even still giving the guy the benefit of the doubt that he was off at a job interview, right? I was still giving the guy the benefit of the doubt because even still, you don't leave your kids alone at a McDonald's in Augusta, Georgia, dude. Like, you don't fucking do that. You don't leave your children alone in the capital of Georgia. Isn't Augusta the capital? Augusta's the capital, right? It's been a long time since I've been in school. You do not leave your children alone, like, in a major city, dude. Like, and apparently he does it so often that that the mother of the children is like, dude, don't do that. I don't think Atlanta's the capital. Is it? Pretty sure it's Augusta. Yeah, so here's, and what's going on here is very, very simple. Sue O'Connell is a useless fucking mouth. And she's basically her job is to be a mouth on behalf of Boston 10, to sound like Boston 10 is sympathetic to liberal issues. The liberal issues that everyone's talking about, the liberal issues that are trending, the political issues that are trending. She's a mouthpiece for, she's a fluffer for Maura Tierney. That's what she is, basically. And so Augusta is the capital of Maine. Okay. Atlanta's the capital. Okay. That's okay. You can see why I got confused there. That makes sense. So, but that's clearly what she is here. And she sees an opportunity because She sees it, and this is what's so fucking funny about this. Is like it's so condescending, and they don't realize it. Liberals don't realize this. But basically, because Antonio Brown put up a GoFundMe, and this man happens to be a man of color, there's an opportunity now for liberals to get behind something and start getting loud. Like, oh my God, poverty, poverty, poverty. You arrested this man wrongfully and blah, 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 blah. No. This is not a poverty issue. This isn't anything like that. This isn't even a black or white issue. It has nothing to do with any of that. The liberals are making it about that. This is about some asshole who left his kids alone. Period. But it's ironic that they make it about race in order to justify, actually, they justify leaving kids alone to fend for themselves in a 2025 society. They justify this by making it about this man being of color and in poverty. And it's just bullshit. It's pure and utter bullshit. And to me, that's more racist than anybody saying, no, this dude needs to be held accountable for what he did. Because I don't care if he's black, white, Oriental. I know that's not what you're supposed to say. Hispanic, whatever. Asian. I know, like, I would be saying the same thing. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It doesn't matter. This dude had no business. And everyone's sitting there going, oh my God, look at the arguments here. The arguments here are my favorite. And it's always liberals. Always. And then some people are like, at least, you know, there are some people here. 1967 Revere and today's Revere can't even be in the same conversation. Today's streets aren't as safe as they used to be. My parents also had a front seat toward forward facing car seat for the littlest child. Just because we did it back then doesn't mean it was okay. I truly feel bad for this dad, but it wasn't the best move. And again, this is assuming that he was in poverty and, you know, can't get a job and nobody wants to hire him because there's no jobs because the Trump administration is so bad. And this is even in a red state. Oh, how could this happen? And then Sue O'Connell here is saying, I'm not saying things are safer. They were demonstrably not. A comparison of a child death rates then and now, both by disease and accident, show that. But we, and I include myself, have achieved a better safety outcome for our children while reducing self-sufficiency and independence. No, I love that. Like, this is where she's like self-sufficiency, independence. This is a good way to teach kids to be independent, is to leave your 10-year-old in charge in a public place alone with their 6 and 1-year-old siblings, because that's a great form, a way to teach independence, Sue O'Connell. Real good. I suppose next you're going to say, just throw the kid in the pool and walk off and they'll learn how to swim, right? I mean, that's your logic? Because that's how people got taught how to swim back in 1967 in Revere, Massachusetts, at the old swimming hole. That's what people did back then. We've evolved as a society. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but we have evolved. Unfortunately, people like you are responsible for us not evolving. You're like slowing that shit down. Convincing people, trying to convince people and teach our kids in school that men can get pregnant is not evolution. And this finally like caught on here, right? So let me go back to my when I posted this, I posted Sue NBC Boston, Sue O'Connell justifies leaving a 10-year-old to watch their 6 and 1-year-old siblings because back in 1967, when Fred Flintstone was doing cigarette commercials, there was nothing remarkable about walking to the store a quarter mile down the road when you're 10. When I was, and then I read the thing there, but in my thread, she couldn't handle it. God forbid you say anything critical of Sue O'Connell, right? She says, I didn't realize you were so soft, which is, trying to take a jab like, oh, you love to say liberals are fucking, are soft and snowflakes, but look at you sitting here being a snowflake. Yes, me being a snowflake about leaving children alone at a McDonald's in a major city while the dad went off and fucked off. Yes, I am a bit of a snowflake when it comes to things like that. Yes, excuse me. I'm sorry. And then, so of course I was like, yeah, child neglect and the risk of child trafficking, murder, rape that can come with that kind of catches me in my feel, Sue. You got me there. And then she, of course, says fostering independence and self-reliance in children is a good thing. See that? Still just standing, like doubling down, dude, doubling the fuck down on justifying leaving those kids alone. Right? Totally doubling the fuck down here. This is fascinating. It's like these people will these liberals will say anything and dismiss any moral standards at all whatsoever just to stand by their argument. This is proof of it. This is proof of it. Child neglect, totally okay if you're poor. Right? What? Dude, when my son was born, dude, I was dirt poor. Fucking dirt poor. Like, I was living off of fucking rice, bro. I was living off of rice. And if I was lucky, we had black beans to add to them. Dude, me and my kid's mom, we were miserable. We were in love, but we hated each other. It was a fucking mess. It was a mess. And money being the biggest problem. We argued about it all the time because we didn't have any. Like, but never did it occur to either one of us the possibility of leaving our child alone or children alone. Dude, it's a 6-year difference between my son and my stepdaughter. She was 6 years old when my son was born. 6 years old. It never even remotely occurred to any of us to put her in charge of watching our son, her younger brother. Never once occurred to us. Because she needed to be watched too. She was 6. Unreal, dude. Like, this is the craziest shit I've ever fucking seen anybody say out loud and then put in writing on the internet. It's fucking crazy. So she says fostering independence and self-reliance in children is a good thing. Yeah. Teaching them how to fucking dress themselves at 6. Yes. Teaching them how to fucking pick up a spoon and put it in their mouth at 1. Yes. Those things are good things. Not fucking leaving them on the fucking street like the baby in that Dave Chappelle fucking bit. Put the baby on the corner, have him sell weed. The fuck are you talking about, lady? Hey, baby. The reason why that bit was funny, by the way, Sue O'Connell, is because it's absurd to have a baby out there by themselves. That's why it's funny, because it's absurd. The notion is absurd. So fostering independence and self-reliance in children is a good thing. She says it so condescending, too. The situation looks like a case of government overreach, which I thought, dude, they charged him with fucking like one little dude. It's probably a misdemeanor. The situation looks like a case of government overreach. I love that. But she won't talk about the government overreach in the Karen Reed case, right? Or in the Turtle Boy case. She won't talk about the government overreach there. But this is government overreach. Leaving children alone, a guy getting charged with a crime for leaving children to fend for themselves, that's government overreach, according to Sue O'Connell. Fantastic. I love it. Which I thought you were very concerned about. So you see, like, so she's even throwing it in my face. Like, she's even throwing it in my face that I am concerned about government overreach because of the Karen Reed and Turtle Boy cases. And so then she goes, FYI, firearms are the leading cause of death and injury. Oh my God, there we go. Firearms are the leading cause of death and injury to children in the U.S., followed by motor vehicle accidents. This is her justification. Like, hey, it's not in the leading causes of death for children, leaving them alone. Hey, Sue O'Connell, let me let you in on a little secret here. You can't give a cause of death on a missing child, a child that disappears that you don't know what the fuck happened to them. So there would naturally be no statistic as to causes of death of those children who go missing because they were left alone. Unreal, dude. So, of course, I have to fucking snap back here. And so I say self-reliance. And I said not putting them in charge of toddlers in a public place before they start puberty. What's wrong with you? But as long as nobody sends them to Mickey D's with a gun in their hand or tosses them the keys to your Subaru, it's all good, right? Now, I may have taken a little jab there with the Subaru, but you know, it is what it is. She pissed me off. What do you want me to do? So, and then she's like, she gets mad. This pissed her off. I guess the Subaru comment was a little much. So she's like, are you a parent, guardian, or trusted adult to young children? Do you regularly interact or supervise young children? Do you volunteer with the youth groups? And you could tell she's mad because she's skipping words and she's fucking forgetting to put letters in some of these words and shit. She's typing fast. Do you volunteer with the youth groups, church, sports, academic in your community? And I said, I'm a parent to an independent adult. Are you? And then she said, yes. She says, I'm just wondering what your expertise is around parenting young children in this decade. Do you volunteer with youth programs in your community? Wow, dude. And I was like, do you? And when you do you leave them alone and unsupervised? Like, what the fuck is her point of that argument? What the fuck was her point of that argument, dude? Like, okay, so yeah. So here you are, like, you do you remember what we're arguing about here? So basically now you're telling me that you win the argument because you happen to be in charge of small children and you justify leaving them alone. You're an expert on leaving children alone, that it's okay, that it's considered teaching them independence and self-reliance. Wow. Yeah, no, yes. I am officially calling Sue O'Connell a libtard. 100%. That is the most retarded fucking logic I have ever seen. Put into writing, for fuck's sake, on the internet. And under her NBC 10 Boston handle. Like, she just spoke for NBC 10 Boston with that insanity. Speaking of retards. What's up, buddy? It's good to see you. Dude, she's a total libtard, dude. I don't give a fuck what anybody says, dude. Anybody who sat there, she doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on her argument just to paint herself in a corner. So are you saying, Sue O'Connell? Are you saying, Sue O'Connell, that you leave children alone and unsupervised? Is that what you're saying here? Like, is that what you're trying to convince me of? And because you happen to leave, you're more of an expert on this than I am because somebody left you in charge of their kids, and you're justifying leaving them alone to be self-reliant and independent? Are you fucking serious? A 10-year-old in charge of a 6 and a 1-year-old at a McDonald's. Okay. Dude, that's a child trafficking jackpot. The fuck is wrong with you? That's an age for every fucking sick fuck's fetish. You disgusting motherfucker. Like, yeah, dude, the world has gone fucking bananas, bro. Like, the world has gone fucking bananas. Sue O'Connell is a fucking insane libtard moron, bro. Like, I have no interest at this point, like, of even trying to reason with this person. Like, I have no interest. Like, they are branded. Like, she is at Coffindoffer level for me, dude. That's where she's at. She's Coffindoffer, Wendy Murphy categorized, fucking Julie fucking Carpenter. She's categorized with those fucking morons as far as I'm concerned. Like, right there, she's on the list. What's up, Pearl DeVere? Let's check and see if we got any updates on well, actually, let's do this. Since we're in a little petty mood, I also put Sue O'Connell on under the same category as this asshole.
This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life. Yeah. We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
The idea that multiple police department, the medical examiner, and prosecuting agencies are joined in or taken in by a vast conspiracy should be seen for what it is, a desperate attempt to reassign guilt.
So who killed Officer John O'Keefe? Well, Karen Reed's defense team went from we know who did it to we don't know. So we're asking how each side will handle Reed's conflicting statements at her retrial. Plus, a Green Beret is found dead and dismembered after trying to leave his wife. So how now will she defend herself against this murder charge?
Brown cow.
Plus, the forensic shoe waiting to drop in the death of Crystal Rogers. We're talking about how DNA testing on 2 mystery hairs. Welcome to the Cup of Coffee. This is one beautiful his
Gasoline.
Man, but you more modal and being seated in the a lesser charge. So we're going to take you there live once court is underway. Now, To our top story, we're getting closer and closer to a jury being seated in the retrial for defendant Karen Reed. Jury selection resumes this morning, and so far we've got a total of 7 jurors that have been picked to hear the case. 4 men, 3 women. The goal of the court is to get 16 to 18 jurors total. Now, as we're waiting for the process to be completed, we want to take a look at some key statements made between Reed's first trial and now. As we know, she's accused of hitting and killing her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, with her SUV in a drunken rage and leaving him to die in the snow. She and her defense team contend that someone else is responsible. They say it's a frame job, and they're trying to put forth a third-party culprit defense to point the finger at somebody else. Now, Karen Reed and her team have made multiple conflicting statements about who the third party or parties really are.
All right, look, it's not April Fool's anymore, so we'll if you're telling the truth, we'll be following up on that shortly. Don't tease us.
It feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Karen, just be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it? We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, you see what Julie Grant's trying to do there? Hold on. Give me a second here, folks. I'm not seeing anything about that. I think you're out of your mind, Lauren. Turtle Boy doesn't give a fuck, man. His tweets are hilarious. Hank Brennan appears to be wearing a brown suit today, the color of poop. Oh my fucking god, dude. Yeah, there's nothing about fucking fake victim getting charged with a criminally charged. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah, he's talking about crusty panties here, but oh, wait. Let's see what this says. Lindsay Gatani, the Commonwealth star witness who lied about an assault to have me put in jail and who I am still charged with intimidating based on that debunked lie, has been formally charged with intimidating based on that debunked lie. I love it. Has been formally charged in Attleboro District Court with threatening to kill a woman and her children. Oh, shit. Her arraignment is April 30th in Attleboro. April 30th. God damn, that's like a month away. Yeah, bro. Sorry, Lauren. Okay. Yeah, there you go. It's all right here. Threat to commit a crime. And her attorney is Joseph Perulo. Perulo. Yeah, threat to commit a crime. 8:30 a.m. her arraignment. Woo! We'll be following that case closely, my friends. Yeah. Yes, sir, Microdots. Yes, sir, Microdots. And thanks for sending me the link. I appreciate it. I found it just when you sent it. Let's see what this says here. She began to explain the threats began back in July of this year, 2024. There was a pool party at Lindsay's house in which Mary's kids were in attendance, as Mary and Lindsay were friends. They are no longer friends as of August of this year, 2024. At the pool party, Mary explained to me that Lindsay was very intoxicated and was not watching her children. Oh, boo. We don't like that shit. Ages 3 and 5. And on, see what I mean? Ratchet motherfuckers leave their kids alone. And on separate occasions, they began to drown. Mary explained that her son had dove into the pool to save her kids. Mary confronted Lindsay about this, and they argued back and forth about Lindsay being a bad parent, mother, and that she needs to be more careful. Good for you, Mary. Fuck yeah. I asked Mary about other instances where Lindsay had threatened her, and she told me she could not remember specifically what was said, but that there were multiple occasions where Mary brought up the incident at the pool and Lindsay verbally attacked her both in person and on the phone. Mary said whenever she confronts Lindsay about her poor parenting, Lindsay gets defensive, as she is aware that Lindsay is also in the middle of a custody battle and believes this is to be the cause of the anger. Mary explained that over numerous phone calls between the two, Lindsay has said, "Mind your own business before I come over there and fuck you up. I'll fuck you up. Bang, bang." She has also threatened to rip my fucking head off and drive to my house and murder me and my children. We heard a recording of her saying this, by the way. Mary explained that these threats have come on numerous occasions, both in person and over the phone. Mary then began to provide another backstory about a time Lindsay and Mary were on an audio call while she was driving with the kids. Mary, oh, this is one of my favorites. Mary stated she began to hear screaming in the background. So here's the scenario, okay? So Mary's on the phone with fake victim, and what Mary's hearing is fake victim's side of the phone. They're screaming and all kinds of shit going on in the background. So Mary is describing here what she's hearing on her end of the phone coming from Lindsay's end of the phone. And so she's saying, Mary stated she began to hear screaming in the background and thought that she had gotten into a car accident. Mary explained that Lindsay was down the street from Castle Island and she got out of the car with a knife. Okay. She got out of the car with a knife that she usually carries with her in the car with her 4 children and began waving it around in the intersection. Okay. Mary stated Lindsay was screaming at some guys in another vehicle because they confronted her about driving the wrong way down a one-way street. People. Mary stated she heard Lindsay yell, "I wish you would fucking try me right now. I have my kids in the car. I wish you would fucking try me." Wow. This was directed at men who were confronting her about her driving. After the incident, Mary confronted Lindsay again about her actions, and Lindsay threatened her again for bringing up her kids. At this point, Mary provided me with her phone and began to play a recording of a phone call with Lindsay. It should be known that Mary pressed the record button on the phone call about halfway through, 46-second call, which provides an audio message to the party on the other end stating this call will be recorded on both ends of the line and then beeps prior to the beginning of the recording. I tested this theory with an iPhone and an Android to see if the message is clearly communicated to inform the party on the other line that the phone call is recorded, and it plays the message followed by a beep on both ends of the call. So this is important so that fake victim can't try and hit her with a wiretapping charge. So this feature that Mary used to record the phone call came equipped with a message that says once she hits the record button, this phone call is now being recorded. So this is very important. This is important to state this way that fake victim can't sit there and go, "Oh, well, she recorded me without my knowledge." No, there was a recording that told you while you were on the phone that you were being recorded. So stop it. Tested it with the Android and an iPhone. On the phone call, Lindsay sounds very irate and is yelling loudly at Mary in an aggressive tone. It is unknown if she heard the message due to her loud yelling, but that's her own fault. During the phone call, Lindsay states, "Stop lying about my kids on the internet. I will rip your head off, you stupid bitch. I will fucking kill you. Do you understand me? You fat fucking cunt. I will come to your house and I will murder you and your kids. Do you understand me? You dumb bitch." I'm not sure I understood there, Lindsay. Could you repeat that, please? This phone call is the reason Mary came to the station to report the incidents of threats. During and after replaying the phone call for me, Mary began to cry and breathe heavily to the phone to the point where she could not pronounce words. Mary informed me that she has had major trouble sleeping due to the threats, and she has not eaten in a while due to no appetite as a direct result of the threats she has received. I informed Mary that I would file the charges against Lindsay due to her concern to the threats and the nature of them. So there you go, folks. So Lindsay's been charged. Fake victim has been charged with a crime. Pretty eventful day so far, no? So we've now learned that Lindsay Gatani is being charged with threatening Mary. And we've also learned that Lindsay Gatani, her problem with Mary was that Mary would criticize her for leaving her kids alone, something that apparently Sue O'Connell would defend if it helped her political agenda. So this is what we've learned so far today. Now let's see what we've got as far as updates. And so an hour ago, he posted, "It's hard to tell when a juror is chosen. They just spent 15 minutes interviewing a man who appeared to be Indian or Sri Lankan and he's gone now. At no point did Auntie Bev tell him he was dismissed, but they also don't tell you if he's chosen." Karen Reed was listening intently and conferred with her attorneys, looking over his juror questionnaire. They seem to like him. Not to judge a book by its cover, but this seems like the kind of juror they should avoid based on the guilty voters from last trial. All right. So let's go back to Julie Grant and see what bullshit she's peddling, because I always find that entertaining. You look at the clips that she chooses to play. Like, very fun stuff here. Here, I'll show you guys what I mean.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it? We don't know.
We don't know.
So the point of her putting that in there was because if they don't know, then how can they have a third-party culprit? They're contradicting themselves, people. That's Julie Grant right there trying to... That's her little not-so-subtle attempt to be like, oh, look how inconsistent Karen Reed and her defense team are. Oh. Like, I would argue that that's Alan Jackson's quick. And I pointed this out when we went over this. Remember when this first aired? I pointed this out. Watch Alan Jackson right here. his reflexes are quick.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house,
That's Ted Daniel asking the question.
who did it? We don't know.
We don't.
Boom, quick. You see that right away? If John O'Keefe was attacked in that house, who did it? Ted Daniel asks Karen Reed this question. Alan Jackson, as her attorney, quickly intercepts the question. Quickly goes, we don't know. Looking at her to indicate to her, that's our answer. She smiles, she smirks as she looks back at him and says, we don't know. Meaning, we're not ready to give that information yet. So this isn't them being inconsistent. This is them being like, we're not ready to let the prosecution know what we've got going on yet. That's all that is.
We don't know.
Yes, we do.
If John was beaten up and attacked in that house, who did it? We don't know.
We don't know.
There it is.
We don't know. And it's not for us to know. Somebody other than Karen is responsible for that, for the killing of John.
We're solely seeking to introduce the crux of a third-party culprit defense, which is evidence of motive, opportunity, and means, all of which Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, and Colin Albert had.
All right, let's talk about these contradictions and how both sides are going to have to handle them.
What'd I tell you?
I have two
What'd I tell you?
sensational trial attorneys on the program this morning. Let me welcome them in. Joe Krowski, who practices in Boston, and Mario Gallucci. Good morning to you both. Two defense heavy hitters now. You both were prosecutors way back when, too. So I'm going to ask one of you to look at this from the prosecutor side, the other from the defense side. So, Joe, help me out from the state's side here. How do they need to handle these contradictions that are so blatant?
Well, it's not a matter of handling them, right? It's now the ability and the opportunity to make use out of them. Karen Reed has a sacrosanct right to remain silent, and she chose voluntarily as part of what, in my mind, is an ill-conceived pretrial strategy to taint the jury pool to make different statements. The problem is when you make statements, you better make sure that they are thought out and that they are consistent and that they are plausible. It's just the opposite of what we've seen. A lot of her statements have been replete with contradictions, and probably most compelling and of most use to the prosecution is they've been admissions. So I think they've actually gifted these statements to the prosecution that it's just a treasure trove of information that they're going to make use of at trial.
Joe, well said. Mario, help me out on the defense side. How do they manage this?
So Joe's right. You know, she did not testify at the first trial. So it gave the ability for the defense in the second trial to basically put whatever defense they would like forward. But in the same vein, you know, letting her go out and make all these admissions and statements now prevents you from maybe putting her on the stand this time. And what is the proof that you have that any of this happened? I think they opened up a cornucopia of evidence that they'll be allowed to use at this trial. And I don't think it was helpful at all.
Right. I am in agreement with you, Mario. We have a couple more clips I want to show.
Okay. Court TV, I'm going to throw you a bone here. Okay. I'm going to throw you guys a bone. Julie Grant is fucking you guys up. Like, seriously, she is just fucking you guys up because she's calling these things contradictions. Okay. She's sitting here stating as fact that Karen Reed and Alan Jackson sat there and told Ted Daniel that they don't know who the third party culprit is. They don't. Now, even though they just looked at each other and they said, that's our answer, right? They didn't lie because they have not specifically said this person did it. They're holding 3 third-party culprit possibilities. That means that all they have to do is show that they had motive and opportunity. The 3 of them absolutely had motive and opportunity. They don't have to say this person specifically did it. All they're saying is these 3 people had motive and opportunity to do it. More motive and opportunity that makes sense, that's more plausible than Karen Reed doing this. So that Julie Grant failing to point this out, and not only failing to point this out, but using this as some sort of picture to paint that they're contradicting themselves. What that is not only negligent, but it proves that she has a false narrative. Because if she is an expert, she's a court TV anchor, which means that she's supposed to be very well versed on the law. She's not supposed to be peddling these opinions based on false claims, because they did not contradict themselves. There is no contradiction in what Karen Reed is saying as far as her argument is in court of having a third-party culprit defense and having said to Ted Daniel, we don't know who the third-party culprit is. And they didn't even say that. They said, we don't know who did it. They don't. I don't know who did it. Nobody knows who did it. Everyone can admit that freely. Nobody knows what happened inside 34 Fairview. All we know is John was inside that house. And we know that Karen Reed did not hit John O'Keefe with her vehicle. So whatever happened to John O'Keefe happened inside that house. And there were 3 people that were inside that house at the time, and they all 3 had motive and opportunity. That is what they're saying with their third-party culprit defense. So there's no contradiction. Court TV, man, you are fucking playing with fire letting somebody like that use your platform to state these things. This is really dangerous.
I'm going to show you both of some contradictions, and this going to the ultimate issue, whether she hit John O'Keefe. Let's take a look.
During your first discussions with Karen, did she believe she may have hit John?
No. She felt she struck something. She said, Dad, I think I struck something. I said, what do you mean? Right? This was in the hospital. Right? She says, I remember, all right, backing up and hitting something.
So did you?
And it is so low of her, so low to use. Anybody who tries to twist Bill's words in that interview is just shit. You're just a shit person of low character. I mean, it's ridiculous. All she was saying was that she feels that she could have hit something. Her taillight was cracked. Could I have hit John? I feel like I hit something at some point that night because my taillight's cracked. Could I have hit John? That's asking a question. That is not an admission of guilt. And to twist that as an admission of guilt and to twist Bill Reed's words implies that Bill Reed is in on this lie. It's implying that Bill Reed is a criminal. And that's really, really, really low. Because no matter what, even if Karen Reed were guilty of this crime, her family, they're victims too. And that's just that trash shit. That trash shit that I always see from assholes like Coffindoffer, assholes like Julie Grant, assholes like Nancy Grace. Yes, I said it. Fuck Nancy Grace. Assholes like that.
Drive your car into John.
I did not drive my car into John. Didn't reverse it. Did not hit John with my car.
Is there any chance this was an accident?
There is 0 chance this was an accident.
All right, Joe Krowski, back to you on this.
Yeah, we're talking like there's like a year in between those interviews.
We got Dad in the mix now as part of these contradictions. Your thoughts?
So look, this is what I was talking about those statements are going to be devastating to the defense. First, her father admitted that Karen acknowledged that she hit something. Now, the defense, I'm sure, is going to try to spin that.
No, see, you're lying. You're lying.
Acknowledged that she hit something. Now,
she did not acknowledge that she hit something. She explored the possibility that she may have. There is a big difference. She did not acknowledge that she hit something. She acknowledged the possibility that she may have.
The defense, I'm sure, is going to try to spin that, that she was referring to backing into John's Traverse at Meadows Lane.
Which there's
unfortunately,
video footage of her
even
doing.
the ARCA experts called by the defense conceded that that low impact backing into the Traverse could not have caused the damage to the taillight. And I also noticed in
Right. It could not have caused the damage to the taillight that we all suspect, and with good reason, was caused by Michael Proctor, former Massachusetts State Trooper Michael Proctor. Disgraced former trooper Michael Proctor. So any evidence coming from him shouldn't even be considered evidence.
Pre-trial motions leading up to that, the Commonwealth has retold their prosecution and is set to present expert testimony that the two cars didn't line up, so that wasn't the cause of the damage to the taillight. Also, the statement that she didn't put the car into reverse is belied by the event data recorder. Now, look, witness testimony is fraught with contradictions and human frailties, but event data recorder is pretty solid evidence. So it's another example where Karen Reed either contradicts herself or contradicts the forensic evidence. Neither one is helpful.
You're right, Joe. And as you and Mario both know, there have been so many contradictions that she's put out into the public realm. We just don't have enough time in this segment to play them all. Mario Gallucci, what I want to ask you, please, looking at this from the defense perspective, I'm so curious, if you were trying this case and representing Karen Reed, what defense would you go with for her?
That she didn't do it, obviously. I thought the first defense worked brilliantly. I thought they did a very good job with, making believe or doing whatever they did to say that it wasn't her that did it, that there was proof that showed that he could have been beat up. We had the dog marks on the arm. So I thought that defense worked very well. She got the retrial. They brought in a juror, although she was an alternate juror, onto the team.
Now,
and
you see the footage that they're using here. This is all just like subliminal fucking public manipulation on Julie Grant's part. Like, you think that out of all of the pieces of footage that they could use of hearings and trial, all of the footage that's available out there, you think it's a coincidence that she picked the footage where Karen is talking to Turtle Boy in the press box, basically saying hello? Or Turtle Boy talking to a source for information as a journalist? I mean, but for some reason, this is just this is the footage that Julie Grant chooses to use because she wants to push that narrative that Karen Reed has inappropriate communications, sharing information about the case with Turtle Boy and using Turtle Boy to manipulate the public and using Turtle Boy to peddle a narrative to try to shift the public's favor her way. I mean, it's bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit.
Making her make all of these statements to the public is just not what I would have. Making her make all.
What that looks like right there is if I had to like ad lib what I think is going on there, is Karen going, "You believe this bullshit?" And Turtle Boy going, "Yeah, what a fucking bunch of fucking idiots." Brendan's such a douchebag. If I had to guess, that's probably what's being said. I don't know, but that's probably something along those lines. Like, you believe this shit?
All of these statements to the public is just not what I would have, not the way I would have done it. I would have had to keep quiet, let your lawyer talk, let the lawyer do what he does best.
Right, Mario, exactly. And backing up even further, I think something that's a little known fact was that initially, at the very outset, before Karen Reed had 5 other attorneys, when she just had David Yannetti at her first hearing, Joe Krowski, I'm sure you may recall this, when David Yannetti was asking for bond for her and making arguments, he essentially indicated to the court in so many words that this was an accident, that my client loved her boyfriend, that there was no intent here. He kept saying there was no intent, to hit him, anything like that. I can't remember his exact words, but it was along those lines of accident, a lack of intent. Do you think that she would have been smarter to stick with that theory? Do you think, Joe, could she have possibly avoided, a murder conviction and much of her life in jail if convicted, if she would have gone that route?
Oh, I think so. The implication, right? And David Yannetti,
and look at her fucking face. You know what I mean? Like, she's a slimy fucking snake, bro. And she has to word these questions a certain way that are really manipulative. And then she adds to the manipulation by raising her eyebrows and looking so empathetic. Do you think that this could have helped her defense a little bit better down the road? Like, she is full of shit.
When he was
she have possibly avoided, a murder conviction and much of her life in jail if convicted, if she would have gone that route?
Oh, I think so. The implication, right? And David Yannetti, when he was handling the case exclusively, was representing her with a more conventional defense, a defense in my mind that probably would have been more effective. You bring in a Hollywood lawyer and you come up with a Hollywood defense. And my criticism of the defense is third-party culprit is one thing, but it was just too wide and too thin to be plausible and believable.
Look,
essentially backing the district attorney's
and they keep playing it over and over. Like, they just keep it on repeat.
Office into a corner.
It's like when they did when COVID was a thing. It was like CNN just showing the footage of the bodies with the sheets over them on stretchers outside of the hospital, over and over and over and over again, right? Which turned out to be a fucking hoax.
I think they made the case into had to be. I would have tried it conventionally, pointed out deficiencies in the investigation and the evidence collection, and made use of a much more traditional defense. And I think they would have been better served doing that. What David Yannetti did, making that statement on behalf of his client, is the way you can do it. It's the way you can get your story out there, and you can get statements out there from your client without your client waiving his or her Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and not give testimony against herself.
It's true.
Right, Joe. Yeah,
dude, any fucking lawyer, that's the crazy part. Any fucking lawyer that says anything that implies Karen Reed's guilt on court TV goes on my list of lawyers to never hire. Ever, ever, ever. Like, you have to be fucking retarded, or you have to be a complete and utter piece of shit. Like, I can't. There's like, they all go on the list. Both of these assholes on either side of Julie Grant are people that I would never, ever, ever fucking hire or recommend anyone hire ever, because they're slimy pieces of shit, or they just don't even know enough to fucking. I know the guy on the guy on the left knows better. He's a piece of shit. The person on the right, I don't even know. Maybe he's just not educated enough, but if he doesn't know better than to fucking educate himself enough more on the case than to fucking, do so before he goes on court TV to talk about it, then he's not somebody that I trust to do any fucking research on my own case. Fuck him. I would never hire him.
Yeah, I often think about that because it was a clip that hasn't really been widely shared, but I've seen it, and terrible accidents can happen. And it seemed that was the way David Yannetti wanted to go with this. Now, Joe, if she's convicted of the top count, which is second-degree murder, not first-degree, so for our friends at home, no premeditation is needed here. Joe, is there a mandatory attached with that charge or any of the other ones?
Oh, in Massachusetts, second-degree murder carries a life sentence. The only distinction between first-degree and second-degree is that one is parole eligible between 15 and 25 years. Second-degree murder, for your viewers, does not even require a specific intent to kill. It could require as little as a specific intent to do an act which creates a plain and strong likelihood that grievous bodily injury might result. So yes, the minimum mandatory sentences and the potential penalties are significant. The lesser charge, if you will, is not that much of a lesser charge. The OUI manslaughter still carries a fairly draconian 5-year minimum mandatory state prison sentence in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So there is a lot at stake for the defendant Reed here, clearly.
Wow. And I don't think the penalties are talked about often enough. I think when you really think about realistically what's ahead, Mario, tell me, for Karen Reed, we know that there's been an awful lot of publicity, much of it her own doing, as we know. She's wanted to affect the public opinion. Tell me, at the end of the day, you've seen a lot. Can she get a fair trial?
So it's very, I just tried a high publicity case, as you know, in New Jersey, where, we were swamped on a daily basis by, not only the media, but also, Facebook people who are out there with their own pages. And it gets very difficult to pick a jury, and the judge in that case and in this case needs to constantly.
Yeah, it's so difficult to pick a jury, even though they've already fucking picked 7. It's so difficult. We're on day 3 and there's already 7 jurors picked. Amazing, right? But it's so difficult to pick a jury with this high profile case.
Constantly tell that jury at the end of the day, go home, enjoy your family, do what you normally do not discuss the case, don't read anything. That's very important in these cases to make sure you do that. So the addition of the juror that in the previous trial, Victoria George, was interesting to me because of the publicity surrounding the case. I'm sure that they have vetted her greatly to find out exactly what happened during that first trial. She's going to be a very big instrument in this case if they didn't listen to the rules.
Right, right, Mario. I agree with you. Joe, last word to you, please, because one of the biggest developments pertaining to the third-party culprit ruling from the court is the exclusion of young man Colin Albert, who has been harassed incessantly.
Oh, boo fucking who? Fuck Colin Albert.
And baselessly as a result of allegations. And we know he cooperated, was glad to
I don't know if I was clear about this before, but I want to be very clear about it now again. Fuck the Alberts. All of the Alberts, all of the McCabe's, all of them. Fuck the McAlberts. All of them.
to testify in the federal investigation that turned up nothing. They found that the state got the right defendant. Tell me, whatever you can say, I know you represented Colin previously, but your thoughts when you heard the news about him being excluded, Joe?
Well, I thought it was long overdue. I don't think his name
I thought it was long overdue. Of course, you're his fucking lawyer.
Should have ever been part of the first trial. It was noticeable by omission that his name wasn't even referenced by the defense in the closing argument. He is a terrific young man that's been through a lot, and I think that Judge Cannoni's ruling.
That is not a terrific young man, bro. Like, pull up, bitch, bang, bang. Never been in a fight, yet there's fucking video footage of him being in fights, 2 different videos, 2 different occasions. He's a liar, and he's a douchebag.
Excluding any reference to him as a potential third-party culprit was, in a sense, vindication. Now, look, people are still going to say what they're going to say, and there's been a lot of damage done to this young man, but he's a young man of character and fortitude. He really has been exploited and victimized, but he's going to survive. He's doing well.
He sure is. He's got the ability to file a lawsuit now. I'm watching for that to happen, as you know.
Oh, wow, Julie Grant. No, she doesn't have a fucking agenda. Like, dude, listen to that shit.
The ability to file a lawsuit.
He's doing well.
He sure is. He's got the ability to file a lawsuit now. I'm watching for that to happen, as you know. We have to leave it here for now. Mario, you were able to come with us. We thank you for.
Bro. Like, what is her fucking deal? What is Julie Grant's deal? Court TV. What in the fuck are you guys doing? Like, do you realize how bad of a look that shit is right there? Like, do you have any idea? Like, because the more this trial goes on, the more Karen Reed is going to, like, the more your viewers are going to see that Karen Reed is innocent. Like, you know this. You know all the facts of the case. You know, like, she's clearly a paid mouthpiece. Like, she's sitting there. She's got Colin Albert's fucking lawyer right next to her, fluffing this little douchebag up. And here she is talking about how that he should sue people on your platform. Like, is that in her contract? Like, can she do that? Incredible. Court TV is amazing, bro.
Thank you for that, Joe Krauske. We have to let you get off to court. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Still to come here on Opening Statements.
I'm working very hard on bringing justice for my daughter, and I feel this whole
now.
Like, is there even...
Told police she last saw Bonnell on January 27th. He was reported missing on the 28th. Forensic investigation led to police obtaining search warrants for her car, her rental property, and...
Hold on a second. Oh, we've got a Vinny one. Let's watch that. Let's watch the Vinny one. But that's Gigolo Beach. Hold on. Let's just get to.
Of a frigid January day in 2022, tragedy struck in Canton, Massachusetts. Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found lifeless, his body partially buried in the snow outside of a fellow officer's home. The chilling discovery sent shockwaves through the community, unraveling a narrative rife with love, betrayal, and alleged deception. At the heart of this storm stood Karen Reed, John O'Keefe's girlfriend, now thrust into the glaring spotlight of suspicion, then charged with his murder. Prosecutors say she ran him over with her SUV in a jealous rage. But Karen's defense alleges a sinister cover-up within the ranks of law enforcement. They contend that O'Keefe was killed inside that home, 34 Fairview, and Karen Reed was then framed to shield the true killers. Now, as the retrial starts, the air is thick with anticipation. Jury selection is underway, and crucial rulings continue to be rendered by the judge, including one connected to how John O'Keefe died. Tonight, we have all the latest. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And they're getting closer and closer to seating a jury in the Karen Read retrial of the century. As we get ready for it and we prepare for it, the judge is still making rulings. I want to go back to that interview I did with one of the jurors who told me, I asked him, so what happened? I don't know what happened. He literally said, I don't know what happened. You know, he saw and heard all the evidence. He discussed it with fellow jurors. And at the end of the day, he came to the conclusion that he did not know what happened to John O'Keefe. Well, I made him a not guilty juror, but it raises another question. I mean, we had so much evidence, so much testimony and arguments made by both sides in this case. And a lot of those arguments were out here about things perhaps other than John O'Keefe, exactly what happened to him. For example, Trooper Proctor, a biased investigation. He was fired because of that biased investigation, but that came out in front of the jury. The fact that he wrote all these text messages, made his mind up, hated Karen Read, believed she did it, and he ended up getting disciplined for all of it. As important as that is to figuring out what happened to John O'Keefe,
he got fired for it, Vinny. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Don't do that Julie Grant shit.
Investigation itself is not about what happened to John O'Keefe. These were the people who were supposed to figure it out and then prove it. And they didn't get it done in the first trial. But to me, the issue of the investigation and the bias of the investigation is important, but it doesn't answer the question of exactly what happened to John O'Keefe. Then you had Karen Read. She made alleged confessions. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Did I hit him or I hit him? Right? So you had that evidence, which seems to be direct evidence of what happened to John O'Keefe, but that didn't convince all 12 jurors beyond a reasonable doubt. So then the issue became, well, did she actually confess or did she not confess? What did she actually say? And it became almost again like it's an important issue, but it doesn't tell you what happened to John O'Keefe, because the issue is, did she actually confess? What did she actually say? Who really heard it? All of that was kind of tossed up in the air as sort of a sideshow. And all the witnesses, the eyewitnesses, the McCabe's, the Alberts, the other investigators, the videos, everything else, to me, didn't convince these jurors what happened. Which brings us to the experts. And I'm wondering, in all of this, is it up to the experts? John O'Keefe has certain injuries. He's found in a certain place. And the question is it up to the experts to prove one way or another, whether it's the defense or the prosecution, to prove what actually happened to John O'Keefe? Because that's where the jury ended up. The jury was not talking about murder. The jury was not talking about motive. They dismissed that. Counts 1 and 3, leaving the scene of the accident, that was not in play. What was in play was, how did he die? Did her car actually hit him? And that wasn't resolved. But that's where they ended up, because they did not believe the first jury, despite the way everything ended up. They did not believe that it was murder. They did not believe that she knowingly left the scene of an accident. So they're really down to, did she accidentally hit him or not? And that's something that I think only the experts can prove. And it's going to be significant. It's going to be important. Do you remember who the expert was for the Commonwealth in the first case?
Yeah.
He was a trooper, Trooper Joe Paul. Take a look.
So the vehicle was traveling in reverse.
And how fast was the vehicle traveling and over what distance?
So the vehicle is traveling in reverse.
The vehicle traveled up to 24 miles per hour and approximately 62 feet.
What, if anything, occurred then?
The right rear of the Lexus struck the pedestrian John O'Keefe.
And post-collision, what, if anything, occurred with regard to Mr. O'Keefe?
Mr. O'Keefe was projected forward and to the left along the front yard of 34 Fairview Road. So the taillight in this case was shattered when it was struck John O'Keefe's arm. Based on what I saw for his injuries was from the upper part of his arm down.
Dude, listening to that guy, dude, like that guy is fucking retarded. And yes, Vinny, you're welcome. Because my pause game is on point. Fuck yeah. Drink that shit in, my friends. Woo!
Okay. I was underwhelmed at the trial by a Trooper Joe Paul. And he's probably a great guy. And
I love Vinny's disclaimers. You know, I was underwhelmed by Trooper Paul. You know, he's probably a nice guy. I'm not saying anything personal about him, you know. But let's see how he goes about calling Trooper Paul an idiot here without calling him an idiot. This should be great.
And probably a great trooper, but this is beyond, and I said it at the time, this was beyond his expertise. Like he can report facts about where he was found, the tail light, what it looked like. You know, those sort of things, fine. Like, but to sort of extrapolate and come up with some sort of mathematical equation or something based upon what you've studied, like that was not him. That was not him. So what is the prosecution going to do in the retrial? Well, they're going to up their game. And that is one advantage that they're going to have second time around that they didn't have first time around. I mean, that was not the correct expert to opine about what happened to John O'Keefe. Now they've got a guy, and he's been cleared by the judge.
Oh, I need to do that. Big shout out to Attorney Melanie Little for the cupcake invasion. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you guys are here. Yeah, I need to, I got to do that. I should there's like a way to do that. I had to do that with Justice Serve TV where like they could redirect everyone over here. I have to add Melanie Little's channel to that to do that. Yeah, that's the ticket. Got to do that.
Now to testify, a doctor, that's important, Judson V. Welcher. Okay, no, I don't think he's a medical doctor. He's a biomechanical engineer.
He's an ass Welcher.
Engineer. He's an accident reconstructionist. He has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Cal Poly. Like, this is the real deal. A Master of Science in Biomedical Engineering from USC.
He's a real deal. Unfortunately, he's not qualified to fucking testify on this, even though Bev says he is.
The one out in California. 28 years of experience in biomechanical engineering and accident reconstruction, specializing in trauma causation and prevention, human tolerance, restraint design, accident reconstruction, amusement park rider tolerances as well. He's qualified and has testified as an expert in over 200 trials.
Whoa.
Now you see the difference between him and Trooper Joe Paul. Trooper Joe Paul, I'm sure he's a great trooper. I really do. And he can go to the scene of an accident, and your run-of-the-mill sort of accident and report on facts that he finds. But when you're putting together the pieces and trying to reconstruct what you believe happened, you need someone like this. So what's going to be the impact of this new, I'm going to call him like a super expert for the Commonwealth. Let's bring in our live think tank in studio tonight. Criminal defense attorney, entertainment attorney, former assistant DA in Atlanta, and also down in Florida, by the way.
Oh, I love these
Daryl
guys.
Cohen is with us.
I love this panel. This is my dude right here, bro. I love this guy.
Criminal defense attorney, law professor Meg Strickler, and criminal defense attorney, the man behind the glasses, Josh Schiffer.
Man, can I cross-examine Doc for a second?
Why?
Expert Doc?
You don't think he's an expert?
No, he is 100% an expert witness. And a good cross-examination is going to go deeply into the kind of work he performs.
What does he do?
Well, he testifies for plaintiff's lawyers. And he's produced millions and millions of dollars in verdicts against businesses. And he's available to review all of your stuff. And if you're trying to go ambulance chase, he's the kind of guy that you want to hire 101, because you know that with his expertise, with that background, jurors love that stuff.
Well, let's not call them ambulance chasers.
Oh, no,
because
that's the
these
lawyers.
are people who bring justice to.
Dude, Vinny, stop it. You brought him on for that shit. You guys don't get the dynamic here. You guys don't understand the court TV formula here. You guys don't know what this is. You guys don't see it. You don't see the court TV formula. Like they do this just to rile everyone up. Like you have Julie Grant spewing her bullshit, her shit premiered, and then they have Vinny's thing premiere, and Vinny plays devil's advocate going, oh, well, no, let's talk about the expert and blah, blah, blah. Look how qualified this guy is. I mean, Trooper Paul, this man is giving you a run for your money. I mean, people. And so he builds up this guy, this ass welcher, because he knows that fucking Elton John is going to jump on and he's going to fucking tear the guy apart. You know what I mean?
To people who are hurt and harmed.
You're telling me we do personal injury
I
at my
know.
firm, and that's exactly why.
Don't
I'm
call
so-
yourself an ambulance chaser. You're out there getting justice for people who've been hurt in car, bus accidents, etc.
I actually have Daryl chase the ambulances. I'm way too slow. He has very
You can
spry
catch him.
knees.
All right. Is this going to make a difference?
Absolutely. The state needs his testimony to be rock solid. The defense needs to destroy him as much as possible.
I think the Commonwealth has fallen into the trap that I've seen happen in California over and over again.
What is that?
Over trying the case. This is simple. The KISS method. Keep it short, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Did Karen Reed hit her ex-boyfriend?
Dude, court TV is like Sports Center for fucking true crime. It's so funny.
I think he did. I think the evidence shows that he did, if you believe that evidence. But did she do it intentionally? I don't believe so, because there was a snowstorm. And I think the Commonwealth has overcharged her, and they need to get it simple. Keep it simple. Very simple.
Well, the most simple thing they need to do to prove any of the charges here is to establish.
And the guy that was just talking always shits the bed. Watch. It's just a matter of time before he shits the bed. Watch.
Beyond a reasonable doubt that her SUV actually struck John O'Keefe. And as you know, the juror I interviewed, as well as several others, they weren't convinced.
Maybe this expert, we don't know, is very good at translating all the technical stuff into English. And if he's very good at speaking to the jury and the jury pool and just saying, look, this is jury pool, I apologize, but the jurors, and saying, look, this is what happened, and let me explain it, kind of like Trooper Joe Paul did, but to augment that, and he's got the doctor behind him, then nobody's going to be able to cross him with any real merit.
Trooper Joe did the job that a trooper does, but he wasn't the expert that the Commonwealth needs, and this doctor is.
Right.
The problem that everybody seems to be overlooking is that he was the guy who performed the shit in the first place. Why didn't the Commonwealth hire this expert to conduct their investigation initially? If it was so fucking important, why didn't they do that? Why? Because he's not hired to conduct an investigation. He's not hired to conduct his independent investigation. First of all, he's not independent because he's hired by the Commonwealth. Second of all, he's hired to testify, not to conduct an investigation. So the investigation has already been conducted. The investigation was conducted by Trooper Paul. The experiments, the tests, all of that shit was already done by Trooper Paul. That shit, you can't unring that bell. You cannot put that toothpaste back in the tube. It's done. All this guy can do is come along and testify and go, oh, well, what Trooper Paul should have done, that's not going to do anything. The bottom line here is Trooper Paul didn't fucking do it. That's what's going to drive home this cross-examination, I think. just the fact that he's hired to testify.
I don't think that matters.
Did you see Trooper Joe's testimony?
I don't think it matters. I think the jury, for the most part, has pre-made up their mind, even though they will say under oath they have not. And I'm wondering if they're going to hear.
Trust our jurors.
I didn't say our jurors.
What I say, bro? What I say? This guy is just the bed shitter of all bed shitters, dude. This guy is like, oh, you need your bed shat in. Court TV, Law and Crime, whoever, just call me up and I'll come over and I'll just shit that bed for you. I'm happy to do it. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. Oh, wow, bro. My grumpy ass. The guy looks like fucking Roscoe Pico Train from fucking Dukes of Hazzard. And he comes up there talking about, oh, well, you know, this jury's already going to have their mind made up before they even go in there. What do you mean, bro? They haven't even picked the fucking jury yet. What are you talking about? You're supposed to be an expert. And you're sitting here on court TV. The jury's not even fucking halfway picked, even though it's moving along pretty quickly on day 3. And you're up here talking about fucking, hey, boss hog. The jury's already going to be picked. Jury's already going to have their mind made up. Come here, Flash. Come here, Flash. Look at this guy.
Those jurors. I think they have been so amassed with so much pro Karen Reed, hate Karen Reed, love Karen Reed.
They're hearing
She's
it
being
outside the
framed.
window, and they're like, free Karen Reed, and they're hearing it right outside.
Not this time.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. They'll get microphones.
But you're like, all right, if they were chanting it last time and they heard it, they didn't free Karen Reed last time, so apparently they need to scream louder.
I don't know. Most of them tried to free her. They just didn't record the decision.
The true Vinny comes out in conversation. That's what happens. He's like, maybe they need to scream louder.
Isn't particularly well
on counts 1 and 3. Count 2, they were there was a split, and it was more towards conviction, but for the lesser included of count 2. I want you to take a listen to this. This is Daniel Wolf. This is one of the ACA, we call them ACA experts in the case, who investigated the case or was hired by the feds who were investigating the investigators, and now the defense has adopted them as their experts because their report, before the defense ever hired them, helped what the defense was arguing. Let's take a look.
Was there any apparent damage to the Lexus that appeared consistent with any kind of pedestrian interaction that you saw?
No, it was really confined to just the taillight, a very isolated portion of the vehicle.
In your expert opinion, based on all your testing, is the damage to the taillight that you saw consistent with striking a human head?
No.
No.
In your expert opinion, is the damage to the taillight consistent with striking a human arm?
No.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, so let me ask you. Now we've got experts and both sides. They testify a lot. They're very educated. They know what they're talking about, but it's going to be both sides. This is going to be more of a classic battle of the experts.
It is.
Last time defense won. So what does the jury do with that? Do they just make up their own minds?
They have to listen and they have to see.
The jury didn't want. The jury didn't, like last time the experts didn't win. The ARCA experts didn't win the jury because the jury was not allowed to know the jury was not allowed to know that they were hired independently by the FBI. So like the jury won to us because we knew that they were hired by the FBI, but the jury didn't know. Sorry, not the jury, but ARCA won to us because we know the circumstances in which they came to their findings. But the jury didn't know that. Let's hear what Roscoe has to say here.
See who they resonate with.
Correct.
So not what he or she, in this case, he's testified to. Depends on how they testify. How do they relate to the jury?
100%.
What the body language, the facial expressions. That to me is
who they like.
Exactly.
And who they don't like.
Literally. That is really always the case with experts.
But really, you've got to remember, this isn't a civil case. This is a criminal case. The Commonwealth's expert doesn't just need to equal the defense
That's
expert.
true.
They need to go above and beyond and cover beyond reasonable doubt. When there's a conflict between two very smart, qualified experts, and there's a legitimate disagreement as to what the conclusion is, That's a defense victory.
But maybe Trooper Joe Paul will then come in right after, and then
Then I don't think they should bring him in. I think they should.
I have a feeling he still will.
He was
That's
very
fine.
nervous.
I agree, but I
He
think
seemed
he'll
very
come back
nervous.
in.
He picked. Vinny saved himself. Like Vinny was like, "Oh yeah, I don't. Oh, Trooper Paul. I don't think they should bring him in." Yeah, he's a fucking idiot. I mean, he was very nervous. He was very nervous. Yeah. Yeah. Did I say idiot out loud? I didn't. Okay. Sorry. He was very nervous.
I'm sure a great guy, he didn't have the experience of testifying as an expert. But now that he's got one trial under his belt, he'll be much more
That's how you get
relaxed.
the experience.
Okay, something else I want you to see. This is from Inside Edition. We got it. Here's Karen Reed outside of the courtroom yesterday.
I'm here. We're fighting. We'll keep fighting. I feel strong, so I feel good.
How do you feel about the former juror who's actually on your team now?
I'm sorry that I have these pickle chips in my mouth, but I feel just another resource. How did this land? How did even jury selection go for the jurors, the prospective jurors? So just another resource that we're utilizing.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to have her a part of your team?
I just feel lucky. I'm not paying any of these people. They're not asking for anything.
Wow. What do you think of that?
I think they're being paid.
Oh yeah, I think they're being paid. I think they're being paid. Right, Flash? Are they being paid? Dude, there was this fucking moron, bro. This John DePietro idiot. Guy's such a fucking dumbass. He's so loud on Twitter, too. And he's like, Mr. fucking, he plays this clip right here that we just watched, and he's like, I have a question with this emoji right here. I have questions. Karen Reed, her defense team isn't being charged, or they're not charging her. Her defense team is working for free. So, where's all the money for the donations going to? Bro, experts cost money, you fucking moron. Experts cost money. Flying them fucking back and forth. Alan Jackson isn't fucking flying back and forth from LA to Boston and back God knows how many fucking times a month out of his own pocket. That shit costs money. Just because he's not charging as an attorney, expenses still cost money. That's why they're called expenses, you fucking dolt. John DePietro, fucking idiot. Dude, pickle chips cost fucking money, bro. Okay? And if you guys want to fucking spoil Karen Reed with a shit ton of fucking pickle chips, click on the link that's pinned to the top of the chat. Donate to Karen Reed's pickle chip fund. Okay? And write John DePietro's a douchebag in the comment when you do it. Say, for more pickle chips, Karen, fuck John DePietro. You don't say fuck John DePietro, but say something that John DePietro's stupid. Something like that. But pickle chips all goddamn day. All the goddamn pickle chips that Karen Reed wants to fucking eat, bro.
Paid, whether she is.
Let's see this guy real quick.
Wow. What do you think of that?
I think they're being paid, whether she is directly paying them or not. They're being paid.
And
by the way, I've got pickle chips in my mouth.
The fact that she's talking, I can't believe any lawyer is allowing her out there.
They
Period.
They need to pay someone to follow her around with, exactly. She does not need
What did
to
she
be
say
saying
that was bad, though? She
everything. Her voice.
So everybody's shitting all over Karen for fucking talking to the press outside the court.
Her mere existence and speaking is a problem for her case.
You can't do that right now. This is a
Well, the
murder
jurors
trial.
can't watch the news. They're told
It doesn't
not to watch
matter.
I'm sure they didn't watch the news. They don't look at social media.
Again, you don't
none of
trust
that.
our jurors.
I don't know.
It's not that. It's that
Come
they're
on.
inundated, and
Come on.
by
I know.
existing, they're inundated. And by the way, they need to teach Karen Reed one thing: KYD
Yes.
BMS.
Yes,
Keep
please.
your damn big mouth
shut.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk.
Everyone seems to be in agreement about this. Everyone. Now, I haven't formed an opinion about this. I honestly haven't. I actually personally love to see Karen Reed, speak out. I like to see a fearless Karen Reed. Like, I don't have anything to fucking hide, so I'll fucking, I'll stuff fucking pickle chips in my mouth and answer your stupid fucking questions all you want. I don't give a shit. I got nothing to hide. Like, that's how I see it. You know what I mean? But I also get where literally everyone else is coming from. I get that. It's better just to fucking keep your mouth shut, sure. But when you're guilty, you know what I mean? And sometimes when you're innocent too. But as a layman, I look at it like, I mean, if her attorneys don't fucking see issue with it, there's probably a strategy behind it, So, and Karen Reed is probably a lot like Turtle Boy in the sense where it's like, you can only tell her so much. She's only going to do what you tell her so much. There's just an instinct, a switch in here that when somebody tells you what to do, it switches to fuck you. I won't do what you tell me. Yeah, that happens. It just like I have it. I have it. It just is. I don't know what it is. I don't like people telling me what to do. And I hate doing what people tell me what to do, even worse than people telling me what to do. So, I get it. But, I mean, so far I haven't seen Karen Reed say anything that's actually incriminating. Like, when she says something that's actually incriminating, then okay, I get it. But it might depend on your definition of incriminating. It might depend on what your standard of incriminating really is. Like, one might argue her saying, I need to go home and I can't wait to go home and have a drink. Oh my God, that's really incriminating. Maybe it could be construed as incriminating. I personally don't see it as incriminating, but I could see how somebody might, just as an example. You know what I mean? But like, dude, I'm so right now still at the stage where I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Like, say whatever's on your mind, dude. Like, you didn't do it, so who cares? Fuck it. But then again, I'm sure if I had Betero on here right now, Betero would probably be like, yeah, but it's always better to keep your mouth shut than to say something that could be twisted, and I get that. I do get that. But I'm also a big fan of seeing Karen Reed be like, I don't give a fuck what you think about what I say. It's fun.
More about Karen Reed in front of the jury. Plus, coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, convicted doomsday cult killer Lori Daybell back on trial for another murder. Her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. Tonight, two members of Lori's family join us live for a unique look at Lori and her deadly life.
Dude, that is the only case besides this one that, there were so many names. There's so many names in the Daybell Vallow case. So many that it was really hard to keep track of. Then I finally got it. Once you establish the timeline, it's easy to keep track of the names. Does that make sense? There's a timeline of events in the Daybell Vallow thing, and it makes sense. They just eliminate victims. They get paranoid somebody's going to talk, and then they kill them. That's what happened. It was following that shit was insane. She belongs under the jail. So does fucking Chad Daybell.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and vital.
Were you gotten representation? Let me ask it this way. Were you upset or annoyed or that Karen Reed had gotten representation, legal representation, to represent her?
No, not at all. That's her right.
Well, let me ask you this. In August of 2022, you said you absolutely hate it, correct?
I don't know if I used absolutely. Yeah, I didn't use absolutely, sir.
You used truly, correct?
Truly, yes.
How do you feel about him now? He's sitting right there.
I still don't care for him now.
I'll let it stand.
Oh yeah, let me fill the cupcakes in on that. So yeah, what's going on with that rabbit hole, girl? For you cupcakes that joined, and I appreciate you guys being here, and a big shout out to Melanie Little for that. The big thing on that is Lindsay Gatani, aka Fake Victim, one of the people who Turtle Boy is about to prove colluded with Kate Peter, aka Krusty Panties, Lieutenant Brian Tully, and Special Prosecutor Ken Mello to have Turtle Boy's bail revoked and have him thrown in jail for 60 days, which they were successful in doing so. But Betterow and Bradle are about to prove in court sooner rather than later that these people colluded. Now, this ex-girlfriend, Lindsay Gatani, was used in this process, and she has just recently been she was just charged today with a crime, with threatening somebody. It's a bit unrelated, but it's going to help Turtle Boy's case overall. It's going to help credibility. It's going to help establish that she lacks credibility, at least. And it's a good thing, but she is completely fucking insane. This Lindsay Gatani person. There's recordings of her threatening people, and the person who she threatened filed charges, and she will be arraigned on the 30th of April. So I hope that answers your question.
That was not the only moment during Karen Reed's first trial where
she has an attorney. The information's posted. I don't remember the person's name, but she has an attorney now.
She had a visible reaction to testimony or things that are happening in the courtroom. You know, we watch a lot of trials, and sometimes we talk about defendants and say they just sat there and did nothing. That's not Karen Reed. You could almost understand what she's thinking during certain moments of the trial when she's reacting to things that are happening, whether it's arguments by counsel, a ruling by the judge, or testimony from the witness stand. Do you remember this? This came out after the first trial because we didn't know about it beforehand, but some information came out after a ruling by the judge that Juror A stated that Juror B had made comments to her about the defendant's facial expressions during the trial. The court ultimately decided to dismiss just Juror B from the jury because you can't make comments like that. And I think Juror A ended up off the jury as well. But from what I'm taking away from that is not the misconduct by the juror, which it was and should have been dismissed for talking about the case before deliberations, but getting inside the mind of the juror, that the juror was noticing the expressions of Karen Reed during the course of the trial. Take a look. One more I have here. This is Jennifer McCabe is testifying. Take a look at Karen Reed as this is happening.
You didn't say to Mr. O'Keefe, you're coming with me. You said to Karen Reed, you're coming with me, or something to that effect, right?
Mr. O'Keefe was not outside when I said to Karen, you're coming with me. I told Karen, you're coming with me because John was still in the bar with Matt.
So you asked Karen to come with you in your car?
Yes.
To give her a ride?
Yes.
Separate from John O'Keefe?
Yes, I figured he could go with
that's
Matt.
the thing, man. You got to look at these things. Like, look at what Vinny's doing. Vinny's the cold to Julie Grant's hot here, because he's showing Karen Reed's reactions. Now you could judge that and be like, God, look at how visceral she is. Ugh, God, blah, 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 blah. But that's not what's happening here. Like, we all know that Jen McCabe's a fucking liar, and Karen Reed is staring her down. Like, This is someone who's on trial falsely and gets to face her accuser. This is Karen Reed not squandering her right to face her accuser and staring this lying piece of shit down while she sits on the stand. These are not the actions of a guilty person. They can be, but they're definitely the actions of an innocent person who is fighting to prove her innocence.
Matt, because they were still in the bar.
Was there a reason why you wanted to separate Miss Reed from Mr. O'Keefe at that moment?
No.
Why not just walk to your car with Matt and go where you're going to go?
Matt was still inside.
So you thought it was important enough to make the statement, "You're coming with me," or something to that effect to my client, to separate her from John O'Keefe, even though your testimony is John O'Keefe was just inside the bar.
Think Tank back with us. Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Josh Schiffer. And I want to put it this way. If you're on trial for murder and you are factually innocent, you're going to be upset. You're going to be reacting. You're going to be angry at times.
That's right.
All of that.
That's right.
What I am pointing out here is the fact that jurors noticed it. So will they change? Will they speak to her during the second trial and say, maybe we shouldn't do that?
Think about
Or be yourself and react to the moments.
No.
What you've got a problem.
Yeah, see,
Somebody has whatever.
That's a question that I wish I would have asked Alan Jackson when I met him. That's a question I wish I would have asked. Do you guys actually advise Karen to not react during court hearings? Do you guys advise her? I'm curious about that. I'm curious if it's a situation where they're like, do what you want, but like, it's really better that you don't react to these people that sit up there one after the other and lie. Because I know it's hard, but I just like, you know, and then I wonder if Karen is just like, nah, fuck that shit, you know. You guys work for me, all right? I'm gonna do that shit because I fucking want to do that shit. Because fuck those people. I wonder if that's the case. Because I would understand either way. And I would also understand if Karen Reed's defense team all collectively are just like, fuck them. Yeah, let the jury fucking know. Like, you don't have anything to hide. Express yourself. Just don't disrespect Beverly Canody's court, because then she'll have your ass for that. But aside from that, yeah, I'm not going to fucking tell you not to be you. You're innocent, period. So, I mean, either way, because it's one or the other. You know what I mean? It's one or the other. Either Karen Reed, because Karen Reed is reacting, whether we like it or not. She is. That's a fact. She's visibly reacting during these hearings. Has been every hearing. So, I mean, the question is whether or not she's advised not to. Or even possibly advised to do so.
Whatever the facial expression is, and you've got 12 men and women over there. One or two will love it, one or two will hate it, the rest of them won't notice. You don't know how any particular juror.
I have to completely agree with this guy. What he's saying is completely and totally like plausible. I have to agree with Roscoe here on this point. Because I have thought this myself. In theory, as a layman, I'm not an attorney, but in theory, I feel as though that's going to be good for her with some jurors, bad with others, and others aren't even going to give a fuck.
It's going to respond to react to that facial expression, that body language. So you teach your client, be impassive if you can.
You're under a microscope, but think about what I would do if I was retrying this case. You have the entire trial on video, have an intern go through it. It's like watching an old football game when you're on Monday morning quarterbacking it. Get all the clips where you think your own vision of it is this was inappropriate, this was not such a good idea, this face wasn't a good plan, and then show it.
I actually agree with that too. In theory, now I've never had a law practice and I've never had an intern work under me in my law practice, but it sure seems like a really good thing to give an intern to do. It seems like a good task to give an intern, no? Just sit there and go through the trial and focus solely on certain things. In this case being Karen Reed's reactions to testimony, to questions being asked, and things happening, objections, anything Karen Reed may have reacted to. It seems like a good exercise to give some real good shit work to give an intern that would also provide them with the exercise of observing how a defendant acts. So come take notes. I want you to go through all of the first trial, all of the pretrial hearings. I want you to go through every single one, and I want you to give me your thoughts as to when she did it, when it was beneficial, when it could have hurt, what your thoughts are on this. That seems like a great task and a great training point, a great training exercise to provide your intern in theory.
It to her and then school her. Now she's dumb enough to not listen. That's not our problem. But as a lawyer, I would say to all my clients, because I'm under a microscope as well, I've got to make sure that I don't have, my jacket be too long or my hair out of space. They're very judgy. They are very
Josh
judgy.
is disagreeing.
And I'm really going to push back on this because I want my client.
You're going to push back on that because you're dressed like a fucking DC comic superhero villain. That's why you're going to push back on it. Because you don't give a shit what the jury sees.
Client to be authentic but just listen. You're being like a lawyer. You're not even listening to the argument.
Listening.
I love this guy.
You must have raised children. So what you need, remember, we're not looking at this with 12 people kumbaya get together from Karen Reed's side. We want, just like Daryl said, 1 or 2 people are really going to notice. A bunch won't. We want those people that notice to make judgments, because as a defense lawyer, you want to divide that jury. You want some people to say, wow, she looks so mean. And other people go, whoa, why are you being so judgy, juror? Yeah, you're talking about people with a...
Dude, this Dick Tracy villain is spitting.
Highly polarizing, emotional, engaging concept of trial. I want people to be staring at Karen Reed knowing that this is super real. And as long as she knows they're watching, I'm awesome.
Yeah, but she's not a good, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this out loud. She's not a good person. And so when you look at her, she does not portray the proper defendant qualities that I usually have as my defendants. In other words, there's nothing redeemable about her. I'm not saying she did do it or didn't do it, but everything I ever see about her.
What if she is factually innocent?
Exactly.
If she's factually innocent and did not do this, isn't it natural?
You see what's going on here, folks? You gotta pay close attention. Act like an algorithm and let those keywords click in your head like they would on an algorithm on a social media platform, right? Let those keywords click. You see what Vinny's doing right here? Vinny didn't used to say things like factually innocent. And yet this has got to be at least the 3rd time I've heard him use that term in this broadcast. He didn't used to do that. Now, he's not saying she's factually innocent, but he's throwing that term in there, a term that is commonly used mostly within the boundaries of the Free Karen Reed community. Factually innocent is a term commonly used by us. And so Vinny is throwing these little things in there Now, he might be doing it just to trigger keywords, buzzwords in your head to keep you liking Vinny. That could be his strategy. But it could also be his way of keeping that shit and that possibility out there because he's saying these things. He's saying, what if she's factually innocent, though? He's trying to keep the conversation where it should be, which is, don't forget, this woman is presumed innocent before she's proven guilty. And so far, I haven't seen shit that says that she's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So far, I haven't seen a fucking thing yet. So the kind of questions and points that Vinny's bringing up here are that of somebody who is really exploring the possibility that Karen Reed could be factually innocent. So keep that in mind. Clubber, come on, buddy.
Natural to have some anger. A trooper gets up there who was saying all these things about you. They have accused you of things. You know the case as well as your attorneys, if not better, the facts inside out. This is your life that is hanging. That is hanging in the balance.
Okay to get
and you
all
just
angry.
have to sit there like this and take it for 3 months.
You have to take it because as much as you take it, you're giving it. It reminds me of the old.
This so far is my favorite conversation that I've heard on court TV. Because this is just, it seems like a very natural conversation on the issue of whether or not Karen Reed should be visibly reacting in front of that jury the way that she has been. And this is a great topic to talk about. This is a great topic to hear 4 people with law degrees discuss.
The old days when we had Dan Rather do a film, so how to judge the Emmys, and his sleeve was sticking about 4 inches past his jacket, and nobody heard a word he said. They just
focused on the 4 inches. Yes.
You see, look at this. We can look at the fucking sleeves again, motherfucker.
I've got another one for you.
Daryl's socks are next.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at another moment from the first trial. Katie McLaughlin is on the stand and Karen Reed reacting. Let's watch.
Do you know any of Caitlin's siblings?
No,
You don't know Brian Albert Jr.?
no,
Do you know of any of her extended family that might be a little closer in age to you, like Colin Albert?
no,
Have you ever met any of them?
not that I recall.
Not that you recall, or no?
I don't remember meeting any of them.
Your Honor, that's all I have right now.
Now, she said.
Now, what's funny is they're all like, "Oh my God, look at her visibly reacting," but you had to kind of look for it. Like the thing is you could tell. Let's watch that again in slow-mo. Okay, bear with me, folks, because we got time. What are we doing? We're just killing time while the jury gets chosen, right? So, watch her. She's holding back. Karen Reed, give her some credit here as well. Give her some grace because she is actually holding back her reactions. Look at this shit when she sees that there is blatant proof that she's lying about the McLaughlin Caitlin Albert fucking relationship.
I recall.
Did you recall or no?
I don't remember meeting any of them.
Look at that. And then she looks over at Judge Beverly Cannoni.
Your Honor, that's all I have right now.
Now
she's holding back right there. She's holding back. She's sitting there going, man, this bitch is fucking lying. Like right there, Karen Reed's face was, this bitch is fucking lying. Right. Exactly, Anthony from Ohio. Exactly.
Now, she said, and this was interesting, in the documentary that everyone's watched recently, she was talking about, I'm tired of being judged. You know, like I look down to the right, up to the left, because this is when she's being interviewed and answering questions. She said, it's like too much already. It's ridiculous. And it's But the problem is that when you get inside a courtroom, 12 people are judging you.
Correct.
And that's their job. Their only job is to judge you.
And by the way, Vinny, it wasn't a documentary. It was a docudrama. And that to me is a very...
Yeah, I mean, I'll I'll concede to that. I'm not saying that it was a documentary or a docudrama, but it's a fair argument to call it a docudrama. I'll say that. But what Vinny brought up here, though, I have to disagree with Vinny because what he's doing is bringing up apples and oranges. Because he used her as an example of saying, I'm tired of being scrutinized, blah, blah, blah. But she's talking about the public. Like, the public is going to take, like, the public isn't the jury. And I know that some people would argue, well, I mean, isn't a jury made up of members of the public? Well, sure. Okay, fair enough. That's a fair argument. But the thing is the court of public opinion is very different from a court of law. And the court of public opinion has been unbelievably unfair. There is no innocent until proven guilty in the court of public opinion. There is no rules that have to be. Karen Reed does not have rights in the court of public opinion. So therefore, Karen Reed has to watch every single thing that she does and says in the public, because it's going to get twisted. She's going to get lied on. There's going to be everything that could be possibly, and it's happening in real time right now as we speak all over Twitter. I just talked about this John DePietro dickhead. I just talked about him and how he's trying to twist everything and trying to spin a narrative here. But the fact that Vinny brought up how Karen Reed was addressing how she's going to be construed in the court of public opinion is not applicable to whether or not she should be worried about how she looks to a jury. Because to a jury, as he to reiterate Vinny's own point that he made earlier, somebody who's innocent, wouldn't they want the jury to know, hey, in any way that they can, fucking, I shouldn't be sitting here and I'm pissed about it. I mean, Vinny basically made this point his own self. So that's where I'm at is it's apples and oranges. The court of public opinion versus the court of law. Court of public opinion, she's not only is she getting hassled for everything that she says, but her family, her loved ones, her friends are being hassled for any little thing that she says or does in public. And not only is she being lied on, but they're going out of their way to make doctored videos to create a rumor that Alan Jackson is having an affair with Karen Reed. This happened last year. So, this is the links. These are the links that the court of public opinion will go. The prosecution in the court of public opinion will go. That's how far they'll go. So I understand Karen Reed being apprehensive about how she's going to look in a documentary versus how she's going to look in front of a jury.
Very big difference between just the facts, as Joe Friday would say, or the facts as you see them.
But lean into being judged, because that's why she's there, and know that the brass ring is dividing that jury. That's what you got to do. Stop worrying about is someone going to dislike. I hope people dislike her. I hope people like her. I hope people have very firm opinions as to whether she did or did not do anything, because that creates a win if you're a defense attorney.
I'm
now
just
the state.
Okay. So this guy just basically gave up his fucking his position. So much for being impartial. This guy just basically just let the world know that he thinks Karen Reed is innocent and he's rooting for the defense. Listen to what he says here.
opinions as to whether she did or did not do anything, because that creates like, I hope people dislike her. I hope people like her. I hope people have very firm opinions as to whether she did or did not do anything, because that creates a win if you're a defense attorney. Now the state, I bet the state also really wants her to make lots of expressions. Correct. Because they can then comment on that.
They sure can.
And say, y'all have watched Miss Reed during this trial. You've seen her reaction, her incredulity, I'm going to mispronounce that word, about these allegations.
And how cold she is about the fact that somebody's dead and there's an actual person dead in the storyline. She's like,
Hey, listen. I want to address every asshole who tries to throw that shit out there. Oh, well, she just seems so and she explained this, by the way, in the Vanity Fair article. She was actually pretty clear about it. But this whole lack of empathy for John O'Keefe, dude, it's been 3 years and she's being accused of his murder and she didn't do it. She doesn't have time to sit there and mourn John O'Keefe 3 years later. Sorry, but it is what it is. I think that she's mourned enough. And as a matter of fact, she has been robbed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Massachusetts State Police, and in part by the Canton Police Department, of her time to mourn John O'Keefe properly. That is a fact. You charged her with his murder. Sorry, but sitting around and mourning someone, that takes a back seat when you're being accused of murdering him and you didn't do it. So I'm shutting down any asshole that says, oh, well, she's not showing any empathy for John O'Keefe. I mean, dude, it's been 3 years. It's been 3 years and she's still being accused of a crime of murdering him and she didn't do it. What do you expect her to do? Sit there and cry? She doesn't have the luxury of tears right now. She does not have the luxury of shedding tears for Boston police officer John O'Keefe 3 years later when she's on the second trial of her life for the same crime. When in fact it is double jeopardy because those jurors came forward. Just because it was ruled that it's not double jeopardy, I call bullshit, because those jurors came forward. Those jurors came forward and Judge Beverly Cannoni refused to voir dire them. Karen Reed has not had a fair shake yet. So no. Like, if I saw Karen Reed break down in tears over John O'Keefe now, there would be a part of me that would be like, understandable. She hasn't had time to do this, and now here it is. Okay, I get it. Yes. I mean, she loved him. But the majority of me would be like, don't do this now. You get up. Let's go. You got shit to do. Let's go. You don't have time to do this. You know what I mean? Like, of course, I would be sympathetic towards her, but logistically speaking, practically speaking, no. Strap on those boots. Let's go. You don't. This is the home stretch here. You don't have time. You don't have the luxury of doing this. Liz, thank you so much for gifting a membership. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you. One.
Above leverage. She thinks she's completely above it, and it's something going on that she's watching and observing, as opposed to being the focal.
Powerful for the Commonwealth to be able to use her expressions to build a tribe of conviction while the defense says no, absolutely wrong. Some of you are judging her on her face that she's guilty or not guilty. If you can't all agree, that's an acquittal under the rules of the law in America.
There you go.
Do you think she'll change?
No.
No, and that's spelled
We'll get the
that,
same thing. So we'll get this. It'll be the same in the second trial.
It will.
I'm going to go ahead and chime in on that one and say no as well.
You just saw her yesterday do something.
I know.
That
It would be
was
so
not appropriate.
me. I'm eating pickle chips.
Yes,
It would be
so
that's not in
inappropriate.
front of the. That's not in front of the
It
jury.
doesn't
Yes,
matter.
it is.
But you said, is she going to change? Clearly, she hasn't changed. If
You
she's
don't
doing
trust
that.
our jurors.
It's in front of the jury because they're going to watch
Just
the news.
trust our jurors.
I do trust them.
The good people of Norfolk County, Massachusetts.
You're going to trust the 12 people that couldn't figure out how to get out of jury duty? You want those people to decide?
People want to be on.
Oh,
I love that this guy just makes these points out of left field, dude, that you just wouldn't expect an attorney to make. You're going to trust 12 people who couldn't get out of jury duty? Like, I've heard laymen make the same point on Twitter, and I always laugh because I can't disagree with it. Even though, you know, our ideals dictate. Yes, of course. Those of us who get chosen for jury duty, we're going to get up there and we're going to be smart people. But dude, if I can't come up with a fucking excuse to get out of jury duty, bro, like, you know, like, dude. And a lot of people try, you know, but you know that it's a jury full, like initially the first day of the jury sitting there in that room during trial where the jury's been selected, opening statements have been made, it's lunchtime. Those jurors are sitting there going, why the fuck didn't I fucking say that I had a doctor's appointment? Fucking, would it have been low to use my kid to get out of this shit? That's what fucking those people are going to be sitting around doing. That's what they're going to be sitting around doing that first day. They don't want to be there.
Another problem entirely.
Because folks in Massachusetts know it's their civic duty to serve when the state comes calling and they are ready to do it.
And to make a lot of money on their book deal when it's over.
I love that everyone laughed at Vinny. I love that everyone laughed at Vinny when he said that, because Vinny was making a joke. That's lawyer humor that just got blasted all over court TV right there. 4 fucking lawyers laughing at the entire notion that people are there because they want to do their civic duty. I fucking love it.
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat. Super cat. Super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat.
How dare you? You are 100% correct. Thank you, fancy fact finder. She has not had an opportunity to grieve. She's been busy saving herself from corruption. Agreed. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what?
Oh, here we go.
I think we got a super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat. Super cat. Super cat. Super cat. I think we got a super cat.
How dare you? Oh my God. Dubra79, thank you so much. Will, thank you for all you do, keeping this so prevalent to everyone. It is a shame what they are doing to Karen. The mainstream media push their agendas and it is sick. So scary. This could happen to anyone. Agreed. Thank you so much for that. That was a very, very informative and insightful super chat. I completely agree. Thank you so much. And thank you for saying thank you for all you do, because I only do this because you guys watch. So thank you for watching and supporting. It means the world to me.
Want those people to decide.
Now, here we go.
People want to be on the jury.
People want to be on the jury. Watch this. Look at Vinny's fucking sarcasm right here. And then watch everyone pick up on it and laugh like a bunch of fucking maniacal fucking lawyer assholes.
That's
I
another
would
problem
agree.
entirely.
Because folks in Massachusetts know it's their civic duty to serve when the state comes calling, and they are ready to do it.
And to make a lot of money on their book deal when it's over.
There's no money on it. Maybe. Could be. All right. So no one thinks that it's going to be any different. We'll see. We'll see what the change is, because we're getting closer and closer to getting a jury in that case. When we come back, the accused Long Island serial killer back in court trying to keep out some DNA.
DNA test. Is that it for Karen Reed? I think it's over. Yeah, I think that's it for the Karen Reed stuff for this episode.
Much more like it is, similar it is to all the other types of forensic DNA that we've been working with now since 2000.
All right. So that's it for that. Shut up, lady. Shut up, lady. That can't be real. Nuh-uh. This can't be real. Nuh-uh. I'm going to play this because the source, it's not one of those AI things. Okay. This is totally off subject, but I'm way too curious. I hope I don't get dinged for this, but I'm playing it. Welcome, Patty.
Multiple SWAT units responding to hostage situation.
Hey, little girl, stop.
What do you want, little one? Your ass.
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beach.
Wow. Oh my God.
Who are you?
Frank Drebin, Police Squad. The new version.
Wow.
Hi, Daddy. It's me, Frank Jr. Love you. Hey, Dad. What do I miss?
Oh. Oh my God. That's real. That's happening. That's amazing. Oh my God, dude. I'm not even a big fan of those old movies. Like, I kind of am. But, dude, who better than Liam Neeson to remake those? Oh, Colin Albert did it. Oh my God. Hold on. Sorry. This case is so menacing. I hope the feds are investigating. Meatball and he goes down with all his cronies, including Bev the Biatch. I agree. Fuck that. People suck. Corrupt motherfuckers. Dirty, corrupt bastards. Yeah, I think I went over pretty much everything that I wanted to go over, I think. Hold on. Shut up, man. Too loud in my ear, bro. Hold on. Oh, shit. Look, something just happened 4 hours ago. Prosecutors Podcast tweeted, I've been having a lot of fun with Karen Reed over the last few days, but I do want to be clear. I get many of you have serious and honest concerns about the Commonwealth's case, and I've enjoyed our discussions. My mockery is not directed at you. The people I have problems with are the ones that have spent 3 years harassing innocent people, including kids, to support an insane conspiracy. I don't think even they believe they need to be condemned at every turn. Looking forward to the trial. So Turtle Boy responded to this, and he said, no one has been harassed, dipshit. Ask Jennifer McCabe and Chris Albert, both of whom applied for harassment prevention orders against me and were denied because it doesn't fit the legal definition of harassment. You are a fake attorney living off your wife. Does she make you get that? Did she make you get that haircut? Wait a second. Is that Gaffney? Is prosecutors podcast Gaffney? Is that who that is? Does anybody know if that's Gaffney? Because that dude is a fucking retard. And the prosecutor's podcast is a fucking retard. Hold on. I'm just trying to find some updates here before we end this. But there's no updates since Turtle Boy last tweeted about the jurors. So far, yeah, so far there's only hold on. Sorry, where's the thing that states how many jurors have been chosen? Am I tripping? So 7 of 16 spots is the last. It's the last update. So 7 of 16 spots. But I am going to wrap this up. I got a full day ahead of me. Maybe I'll go live again tonight, man. Who knows? What's today? Thursday? Yeah, maybe I'll go live again later on tonight, man. Who knows? Maybe I'll do a late evening one. But anyways, guys, I am going to wrap this up. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thanks for hanging out with me. Sorry, there's not more news. You know how these jury selection days are. They could be pretty boring and long, but we did get to go over some stuff that I really wanted to go over. So the takeaway from today is Julie Grant and Sue O'Connell suck. You guys are assholes. So there's jury selection seems to be running along pretty quickly, so it's pretty great. Okay. Ted Daniel says 8, so 4 men, 4 women, so we're up to 8 now. Thank you, Mike B from the 413. Guys, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thank you again to Melanie Little for sending you cupcakes over and invading the chat. It's always very pleasant. And please make sure, guys, to hit the like. Really helps me out. If you guys are new subscribers, I'm really grateful to you guys for subscribing. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you know when I'm going to go live. I hope you're enjoying the channel so far. And guys, for all the support, thank you guys so much for all the super chats. You guys are absolutely super, super, super awesome. I love you guys very, very, very much. You are me, and I am you. And we will do this again very soon, my friends.